Help me, everyone. I've invited too many nerds to the podcast. They're arguing about Star Trek and Star Wars, and I don't know what to do. Help. Somebody. I mean, good evening,
Let it
everybody.
happen.
Welcome to the Arcadia Roundtable. It's Saturday. We've got some fresh faces for you. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about, obviously with a fairly heavy focus on some stuff that Nintendo have been showing and telling us about. But before we get into all of that, let's run through who I've got beside me. Say hello to everyone. JT, how's it going?
Good evening, Asa. And guys, thank you so much for having me back. It's always a treat to come and hang out with anything you guys are doing over at Gaming Arcadia. It's going well. Got a lot to talk about tonight, so it's going to be hopefully a nice spicy conversation. And yeah, very much looking forward to diving in.
Very much looking forward to diving in and some spice. Okay, careful what you wish for, because we may get some of that. But who should I go to next? Let's go to Luke. Luke, you've been back from New York for a little while. You've settled into a routine of gaming and lawyer work. How's your week been?
Yeah, less gaming, sadly. More the former, but it's been good. Yeah, it's been nice. I have actually done some gaming this week, which is good. So yeah.
We're obviously going to talk about that because even when there's big news happening, we always start off talking about the actual games that we've been playing. It's my favourite part of all things. But before we get into all of that, we've got a dramatic return to the channel for previous Xbox Series podcast co-host, now part of the Arcadia Roundtable, Gamzly. How you been?
Before I get terrible, but before we get into that, you know what? JT surprised the hell out of me with that intro because he was so mean in the green room, and then he comes out all happy and positive. I was like, what the hell? But
This is my great lie that it's all just an elaborate act.
Just a face. Yeah. Anyways, you're kind of gorgeous. But you know what? Before we start, also, Luke, watch. What's the wrist check? That looks like a. What is that?
It's a Speedmaster.
Wow, that
too
looks
many
like a Speedmaster.
nerds.
Let me see it. Just shit.
Too many
drowning.
Show it.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Okay, sorry.
Quick, Asa, talk about frame rates. That'll balance it out.
I'm back. I feel good. It's been a long time since I've been on the podcast mic, and it feels nice. After being fired from podcasting, it's nice to make a return. Thank you for this. I'm ready to go.
You've got to poke a lot for a guy without many fingers, but we'll take it. So, no, it is great to have Gamzly back.
Saying I'm being in the green room. Ace is now showing the true colours. Give me a break.
Oh shit!
It's fair. Gamzly he's been away for ages, but he's come straight back in and he's put in a ton of work to organising our topics and things like that, which I've missed greatly. So thank you for doing that. It is good to have you back around and very much complimenting the things that I do terribly badly. Sorry, we're a good team. So looking forward to many good things. We're going to get into talking about some games though. Like I said, Gamzly's telling the truth, by the way. Backstage, people don't know this because I've been playing games and things with JT for a long time, but he's hella mean. Like, I'm scared of him.
What's this? Right, first of all, I take huge umbrage with this narrative now being put permanently on the internet. Secondly, the notion that this is now going to become a recurring bit throughout this episode. Is it too late for me to just quit? Because I've spent a lot of time on social media sort of bigging up Gaming Arcadia's wholesome, welcoming community. So this is, quite frankly, some molten bullshit that I am not okay with.
There you needed any evidence. He's getting all riled up. He's been spending too long on social media and he's taking it out on poor little me.
Look at that.
Time on Threads.
He's just proving us right, isn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is rude.
Poke the bear. You're going to get the horns? No, that doesn't work.
The teeth.
I guess. Listen, I'm not responsible for any of this. So carry on.
This is a great start already. Let's talk about some games. Let's start with Luke, actually, because Luke knows what's coming. He's been on for a little while doing these bits and pieces. You've told me you've played some games.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Yeah, so I played some more Avowed, which I'm getting through very, very slowly. Still really enjoying that, but I would have played more of it this week, but the other week I picked up a game which I mentioned called Look Outside, which sort of gradually pushed its way into like the thing that I wanted to play the most all the time, that kind of status. And then today I actually finished it. Well, I finished one of the endings. There were multiple endings to the game. So Avowed and everything else kind of got put on the back burner for that, because it was the game, or the only game I could really think about where I was like, oh yeah, I just kind of want to dive in. And because of the structure of the game, it kind of lends itself to, I guess, sessions where, you know, you would like play an hour and then put it down. Because for those who don't know, it's a survival horror RPG that's set in an apartment block. And one of the mechanics that it has in the game is that your time is broken up into 15 days. So something happens outside. You can't look outside, or you can look outside if you like, but you get a pretty swift game over screen. All you know is that something will happen 15 days from the time that you start. And so you kind of, during the day, you can go out and explore the apartment and, you know, go and resource scavenge, like get some stuff, maybe find out, you know, find some new areas, find some new ways into new areas. And then you can come back into your apartment and you can do kind of like mundane apartment things. So you can like play video games, which will give you like stat boosts, and you can go and brush your teeth, which will give you a stat boost, and you can shower and you can cook. And then you can kind of, when it gets to nighttime, you can choose, you can either turn in early, or you can just keep going and pottering about and then go to bed at a normal time. So it's kind of good because you can just play a day, basically. You can play a day of the game, and that might last about 30 minutes or so. 30, 40 minutes, and then you go off and you do whatever you want. So yeah, I finished that today.
That sounds kind of Persona-like. Would you say it's a little Persona calendar?
Kind of, yeah. Like more basic than that. It's not like split into segments as such, you know, like how Persona, I think from the last time I played Persona, you kind of got like chunks of a day or stuff like that. So it's not like that. It's sort of continuous. But one interesting mechanic that does have is that it's the default way to play the game, which I do recommend people play, is it's quite brutal because once you go out of your apartment, so in the morning you wake up and there's a mechanic. I don't want to spoil how you save, but you have to talk to someone to save the game. And when you go out, you have to spend a certain amount of time outside of your apartment before you can save the game again. So what that means is that actually, throughout your journey outside the apartment, if you die, you literally, the progress that you've made from the time that you last saved is gone. Like it just disappears. So you have to start again from the last save point. So, and I think it's like 2 hours of in-game time, or 2 or 3 hours of in-game time before you can come back to your apartment and talk to the person you need to talk to save. So you actually have to go out and explore and do things. And the longer you're outside, the higher your danger meter goes up, because the more exposed you are. And you get sort of an XP boost for staying out for longer when you come back to your apartment. So things like experience you only get when you go back to your apartment. So it's got some really weird, interesting mechanics, and it's just a weird, like it's such a weird story, and it's got this like incredible eldritch sprite art going on. And I've just been a bit obsessed with it, really. It's very, very good.
Yeah, it seems like indies are doing like a lot of it. It's indie, right? It's not like
yeah.
somebody. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's a single dev.
Oh no! Wow. Okay.
Published by Devolver.
It seems like
that's becoming so prevalent now as well, particularly when you see these titles like Go Back a Ball and stuff like that. And obviously, you know, the big ones like Stardew and stuff.
Repo is
blowing up.
Repo is pretty small. Who's Repo by? Do we know Repo?
I'm not yeah, I know it, but I'm not sure who it's by.
It's that drug dealer game is a single dev as well, right? The really big, I can't remember what it's called. It's a current massive game on Steam where you build a drug dealing empire. And that's a single dev.
Like 500,000 people played it. It's ridiculous. Yeah, really cool. Sounds awesome. I saw it. You tweeted that one, right?
Yeah. It's just it's super. I would recommend it. It's not like horror. I mean, it is pretty creepy. It can be very creepy at times, but because it's sprite art based, it's more charming than creepy. I find a lot of the time, you know, like it's really got a
Like
lot
myself.
of it's got a lot of
And I'm the
lot
mean
of,
one.
yeah, but
The green room version, Asa, is pretty bad.
he's
Where
he's
do I get it from?
he's very Eldritch, the green room version.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a bit Cronenbergy, a bit Eldritchy. A lot of body horror stuff that goes on in it. It's really cool. I really would recommend it. So yeah, those are the two main things.
Sounds really sort of atmospheric as well, given the obviously, like you said, the art style, but also the tone of it being a little bit unsettling. That's really interesting again for them to have explored that with such a different visual approach as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, and the combat is turn based as well, which is again a weird layer to it. So yeah,
as we're seeing again and again, the indie space being a place for experimentation or for these sort of low barrier to entry, but something unique experience being offered. It's a fertile time for that right now. It's really cool.
Yeah,
just that as a throwaway comment is interesting because I didn't actually know there was combat in the game, but apparently there is. It is turn based.
Yep.
But if you want to see what that combat is like, you're going to have to go and get the game and try it for yourself because you've had Luke's strong recommendation already. I plan to give it a go one of these days. But before we get there, let's talk to JT. Have you had a chance to play some fantastic games or some average games or some poor games or anything in between?
Yeah, I've had a good mixture actually. I've got Split Fiction on the go at the moment with my co-host from Burly Bird Media, Mike Hazelton, also from the Xbox Guide. He and I have played through every single Hazelight game in co-op start to finish, from A Way Out to It Takes Two, and obviously now Split Fiction. Really enjoying it. Probably about a third of the way in to that now, and just having a really just a consistently good time within it. It's constantly surprising us, which I think is obviously kind of the MO of that title and what Hazelight have been trying to push. The variation and the fact that it kind of keeps you guessing very much is ticking those boxes for me, and it's been really good fun. I continue my sort of slow slug's pace march through Dragon Age: The Veilguard, not for any particular reason. I'm really enjoying it. It's just taking me forever to carve some time for that and keep working through it. But one thing that got me today, actually this afternoon, was I completely forgot that Last of Us Part 2 Remastered dropped on PC, and alongside of that was the update to the No Return roguelike mode that they added. 4 new maps, 2 new characters, and I unlocked both Bill and Marlene in that this afternoon, trying out their playstyle with all their new gear. And it's just a new lease of life for a mode that I, first of all, wish desperately had been given 2-player co-op, because I think that would just be magical. But that's really got its hooks back in me. I often kind of dive onto No Return. I've completed Part 2 Remastered now. I played that through with my wife. But No Returns kept me coming back, and this was a nice way of sort of hooking me back in. They've got 4 new maps, and as I say, 2 new characters. So that's, between those 3, a nice varied platter of stuff I've been playing.
It's a good mode. It's a fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun. The gameplay of The Last of Us Part 2 really lends itself well to anything that just focuses on combat specifically. It's very
and it's, again, to be another reference to Split Fiction, but the variation within that as well. The fact you've got the different modifiers, the characters themselves have different sort of buffs and nerfs as well, which kind of makes you have to kind of balance different play styles. It's always nice too if you like. I'm playing on Survivor because I'm a maniac, and I have done one grounded run, which broke my soul, but I have got through to the end. Got the Rat King as the boss on my grounded run too, which was not acceptable. But playing on Survivor with someone like Manny, who if you've had a bad day, he's so overpowered with that semi-auto rifle, and his perks are so potent in that. It's definitely a sort of a quick dopamine hit. Like it's a really easy fix, that game, and it's been a lot of fun to dive back into.
Please help me out because I haven't played that at all. I saw there was a roguelike mode in Last of Us Part 2 and just put it on the shelf because I don't typically go for such things. What makes it work? Like, what happens run by run? How do you progress within the roguelike?
So you start off in a sort of a hub area. It depends on which character grouping you pick. So if you're sort of Joel, Ellie, Dina, etc., you're in the theatre. And there's like a chalkboard thing which shows you the different levels that you can progress through. There's multiple different routes, so you can choose at 2 sort of different junction points, different maps, and different game modes. There's 4 different modes throughout. You select one, it loads, you play it. If you succeed, you come back, you get rewarded, and there's a store and there's upgrades and a workbench where you can tweak some of your weaponry. You then make your way through. Each run is completely different, so they have different modifiers, different variations of the same maps and modes. Some maps have like entire areas locked off, depending on what mode you're playing or what variant you've loaded up. And then you work your way through to a boss, defeat the boss, and then you unlock the next boss type for your next run, etc., etc. With various skins, etc., that you can unlock along the way. So that's kind of the arc of the mode. It works really smoothly, and it definitely has a very sort of like a pick up and play and a one more go feeling to it, especially when you die early. makes you want to fight back against the injustice. But that's kind of the cliff notes of that.
You gave it a good go, but I'm going to leave that on the shelf. That didn't do it for me.
Is that a general sort of preference against just roguelike gameplay generally, or just the idea of what that was?
Pretty much. It's more like essentially the only roguelike that I've really enjoyed is Hades, but Hades is like massively differentiates your character run by run and always gives you a massive burst of power. Every run feels exciting and good, and that's why I wanted to keep playing it and go again. Most roguelikes just feel like I'm doing recycling to me. And that sounded a lot like recycling. And that's not to say I'm not taking away anybody else's enjoyment from it. Like, you obviously enjoy it. Luke enjoyed it. I think Replicant's there saying that he's played a fair bunch. So it must have some quality to it. And obviously The Last of Us, like Luke said, the gameplay is actually good, which is, I would probably say,
not
I think
my
expectation
for it.
But...
the narrative context. Yeah, distilling away that narrative context and just focusing on the core mechanics. It just shows how much they've iterated from part 1 to 2. But it's so responsive as well, and given the heightened challenge, I think at that point, if you're diving into it, you're doing it because you are a little bit of a glutton for punishment. You want to step it up a little bit and have the different character archetypes and the different play styles and equipment. That's where the real variation kicks in, because you might do one run as Ellie, then pick Joel, and it's a completely different feel. But yeah, it's definitely kept me hooked, but I kind of drifted off it until this free update dropped when the PC version launched, and I've been having a blast.
Can you play the roguelike mode as Abby?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, because I love the Abby splat. That was my favourite part of The Last of Us. If you do her double dodge, she just belly flops onto the floor. So,
I thought you were talking about...
No, not that. No.
Different. But...
No, I was not.
A different
I love that. But yeah, no, you can. They've just added Bill and Marlene from part 1 as well. Marlene has an ability where you can change the route you take through the run. So you can do it once per run. If you realise, actually, I'd rather do that level because of my equipment or stuff I've unlocked, you can do like a quick alternate pathway, and that's something only her character can do. And then Bill's sort of main perk is that he gets double drop rewards whenever you do you have to exchange an item that's valuable and you get a random reward in return. He gets 2 rewards for that, plus a custom shotgun as well. So there's some really nice variation with those 2 new characters, and it's just fun to play as them too, because these were characters that appeared, only sporadically really in the first game. So
JC, did you play Valhalla in God of War Ragnarok?
No, I Ragnarok's actually next on my, because I know that has got very similar kind of escalation to it. And it's definitely on my list. That's for sure. It's on my never-ending backlog. But I know would that be fair to say? Is the comparison fair there between those 2 modes?
I think so. No Return's really good, but I think Valhalla is a more fleshed out, proper roguelike mode. That could more effectively stand alone, I think, than No Return could. Because
No Return's definitely an option, isn't it? Rather than being a standalone release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Valhalla's great because first of all, it has more traditional run-to-run progression, which is good, but also it's like a standalone story, like a very specific story relevant to Ragnarok.
Oh, nice.
So you get a lot of narrative stuff, and a lot of, if you're a fan of the series, you get a lot of really cool callbacks and surprises to prior war games.
Gives it a sort of importance, doesn't it, in a sense, where like something like No Return, I think, is deliberately stripping away that narrative context.
I think that's just it's kind of just distilling, like, if you enjoy the gameplay of The Last of Us Part 2, here is more of that in a kind of a very specific environment, effectively, with all the mechanics. Whereas Valhalla is more of a this is kind of a piece of God of War more specifically, the No Return, and I like them both, but I think I don't know, Gamzly, if you've played both, but I think Valhalla's a superior general experience to the No Return
Yeah,
mode.
no, just like you said, it has a very important, especially at the end of those runs, a really important story to help you lead through Valhalla for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
It's really cool.
yeah, you should play that. And before I get started on what I was playing, I just want to. What I find fascinating, and like more fascinating than seeing you try to convince Asa to play a roguelike game, is how Luke types on a keyboard. I
Oh,
was, I was watching
yeah.
this whole time. Can you just type hello for me? Hold on, let me see. Come on, do it.
I
Just,
make sure I'm not.
just,
It's all right. It's all right, everyone. We're just going to derail this while Gamzly watches me type. That's hello.
it's very awkward. Is that
I
not
use this
awkward?
finger
Is
a
that-
lot. No, it's just the way I type.
Is it?
It's the
I
way
guess I
type.
don't have the fingers to understand. But
Yeah,
anyways, moving on.
No, I want to talk about Valhalla
That's a weird
first, and then
envy
you can,
moment.
Gamzly.
Okay, all
Because
right.
really quickly, because Valhalla is also a roguelike that upsets me, but like The Last of Us
Oh,
roguelike, I can leave that on a shelf and feel pretty okay with it. Valhalla, mechanically, I do not enjoy. Like, I'm different to you on that one, Luke. I tried to play it, but I do not enjoy starting as that stripped off Kratos with the same abilities that
Oh,
are
I
familiar from
see.
the campaign, all
okay.
stripped away,
fine.
so you have to earn them in a more awkward way through each run, and it pissed me off. And also, like, it has other things, the way it forces you to reset when you don't die as well several times over to kind of elongate the length of the story. I didn't get along with Valhalla, but it's unlike The Last of Us roguelike. Valhalla is critical if you care for the series. Like, if you followed Kratos through from the Greek ones through to this one, then you should play Valhalla, even though it's mechanically not as good as the rest of the God of War games to me. So I'm more bitter about that one, but I'm just like whining for the sake of whining, right? It's good content,
crazy,
really,
like-
and I'm just go on then, Gamzly, what you've been playing.
Yeah.
Valhalla, it's crazy to me because Valhalla had like this, the DLC had this really cool effect on me where I like linked my brain with Doom with it. Like, it's just like this arena to arena, combat to
Yeah.
combat, moment to moment. That's what I loved about the old school, like God of Wars, and getting that just arena combat one section to another to another. It just felt very quick and doomy to me, and I loved the structure of it. I thought it just fit very well. But anyway, I digress. I've been playing Adamfall. Have anybody jumped into Adamfall yet?
Oh yeah.
I cannot wait to get to that. Again, it's
Dude.
backlog for me, but I cannot wait. It looks awesome.
Adamfall, if I remember, it's like a 1960. It follows a 1960 nuclear incident, like a Windscale nuclear disaster, in northern England, and it's like an alternate history on it. I loved it. It does this thing though that I don't quite like. The only thing I don't like is like the main character has no real relevance, at least with my playthrough and what I got, like the ending I got, because there's 7. There's around 7 endings that you could get with this game. The character starts off as an amnesiac, like he doesn't remember anything, and I find that trope in video games sometimes a little tiring. Like, it's already tiring in everything else. Like, oh yeah, he has no memory. It's kind of like an easy way to write out the main character and like do some work on him, in my opinion. But everything around it is so solid, and a lot of people were comparing it to Fallout and all that stuff, but I would kind of remove that thought process. This is very much Outer Worlds to Fallout, right? This is very small scale version of, I would say, it's exactly like Outer Worlds. Like, it's built like Outer Worlds. If
Pretty
you could,
focused.
very focused, very condensed. And with purpose. Like, everybody you meet has a purpose, and they do a lot of writing to link, like, to remind you who everybody is along your story. Like, in a lot of games, you just kind of meet this guy. Oh yeah, Joe over here has a mission. Like, Wanda over here has a mission. But in all of the because of how the quest log is kind of structured, they kind of have to keep reminding you who is who because you have to find them. They're named people out in the world. You have to know about them. You have to know about what they did wrong and right to lead you to their quest objective. So you have to really read in this game. It's not just, here's a landmark. Go see what you could find there, and they tell you everything. It just everybody's name by the end of this game. At least I did. It's a lovely survival game. I think it's well balanced. I think the only thing wrong with it is that the enemy variety is a little stale. But I had a blast, man. I had a blast. It
Nice.
reminded me so much of, and I know this is a weird comparison, but Asa knows that I'm a huge fan of like old school World of Warcraft, where you actually had to like open the quest log, all right, read, oh, northwest is where the boars are, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, northwest. You do the tracking, you go that way until you hit a boar, right? You smash them and get the quest. This is very much like that. It's like, oh, go
Nice.
to this area, find Wanda, and Wanda has a key card. And it turns it's just super compelling to me. It requires a lot of how do I say? Oh my god, I'm blanking. It requires a lot of
Would it be fair to say like a good initiative from you as a player? You have to really
Yes.
drive it forward yourself.
Yeah. Attention span is what I was trying to
Nice.
get. Like it requires a lot of attention span, right? You can't just mindlessly play this like Assassin's Creed. There's no
Right.
physical way to do that. Unless, but what's really nice about it is that if you lower the default difficulty of this game is how they want you to play, and it's difficult. Like spawn times for items, how you find people, like what you find, how often you find it, etc., etc. But it also gives you that more traditional route that it will put marks on your map. But if you play it at the default, there is none of that. Like they locked you into like hardcore as the default, and I love that with the devs. So if you want some flexibility there, you can put it down one notch, and then you could have a better time and play it like a Resident Evil. You know what I mean? Very lovely game. I got the ending I wanted, and I feel like you could save scum this very easily to get to the other endings if you meet the people that you want to meet and you do the quest line to a certain stage. You could very easily save scum and see the rest of the endings if you truly wanted to. I'm in love with this game. It's really atmospheric. It's quite terrifying at times. It's lovely. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I completed it. Like that's all I was playing. I have this weird thing now. Every time there's a Game Pass game or a Game Pass drop, and I have a sub because I do it. I cancel it on and off. If I have my sub, I want to play and complete one game, and that's what it's teaching me. It's like, oh, play one game, complete it, so that the sub is worth it, and then move on. And that's what I've been doing, and it's been working. I played this, and before that, it was Avowed, which Luke, I can't wait to talk to you about Avowed because I got a bunch of stuff to say on Avowed. Maybe we could talk about that more in depth when you're finished. But a lovely game. And before that, it was what was it? It was that other cutesy looking. Oh my god, the one with the physics. What is it? Hold on, I'm gonna find it.
Cutesy looking
Eternal
game
Strands.
with physics.
Eternal Strands was also a surprise to me. And Asa, don't on me, all right? It's a good game. I also love that to death, but I won't go in depth on that. We could move on. I'm having a blast. Or I had a blast with Titanfall for sure.
Good. Right. I actually want to play Eternal Strands as well. I haven't got to it yet, but I do have it downloaded, ready to go. I'm just waiting for that 12th day of the week when I can play all of these mystery games that are on my backlog. It'll happen one of these days. Let's move on to our actual stuff to talk about, though. I think it's time to move on to Nintendo. The obvious, big, all-consuming news for the week. Not unexpected. We all knew it was coming. Nintendo told us it was coming, but Nintendo had their official reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2. They gave us trailers of their games. They gave us a light consumable version of the tech specs. They gave us prices. They gave us all kinds of things. We're going to start by looking at the hardware, I think. Games are my favorite thing, so we'll get the hardware and the prices out of the way before we have a little go at those. And I'm going to start with you, Luke, because you love your technology. You love hardware specs. And Nintendo, it was interesting actually compared to you get PlayStation release a console and you'll get Mark Coney up there telling you exactly what it is and what it does. You get Xbox release a console and they'll give it to Digital Foundry and they'll break it down and you'll get a massive in-depth leak, or not leak, like a spec list of exactly what's in that console. And Nintendo were actually very light. They said it can do these resolutions and it can do HDR, and that's about as tech as we're going to give you during this showcase because our audience don't really care what's inside this thing. But you've had a little look into it. What are you thinking of the Switch 2 hardware and what we've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much what we expected, bar I guess maybe some elements of the screen of the handheld screen. I did not expect that to be 120 hertz. In a surprising, nice surprising way. It was 120 hertz, and nor did I expect it to have HDR. Which again is very nice. I actually was a bit dubious that Nintendo would include HDR support at all. So to have it on the screen and also obviously supported. Anyway, it's really good. The res bump was pretty much expected. You don't tend to go any higher than 1080p in a handheld device just because battery. So and nor do you need to. So it's nice. And then on the tech specs, I mean, yeah, they were very Nintendo about it. They don't, it's not a focal point of what they do anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. You did get a brief blurb from Nvidia afterwards, who talked about, again, more in generalities, but they did give one figure, which, well, they gave a couple of things. They said it supports DLSS, which we expected, supports ray tracing, which we expected, and that it's, I think they said 10 times the GPU power of the Switch one, which if you go back to the famed and all-important teraflop count from way back when, the 10 times figure does actually match up with the leaked specs that came out a little bit ago for the T239 chip, which is the one that they're using in the Switch 2. So it's not like it's not Nvidia doing a 5070 equals a 4090 thing. Mm-hmm. It's actually more truthful than that. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say the visuals on display bore out that kind of massive difference, but we're only talking about games that are at launch. And if the Switch taught us anything, actually, most of the really impressive games came out sort of midway, impressive in the context of that system, came out midway to the end of that generation. I mean, you look at stuff like Metroid Prime Remastered, right, which is a incredible, and we'll talk about Metroid Prime 4, incredible looking game for Nintendo Switch, absolutely incredible. So I think the visuals that they showed off combined with what we know about the hardware bode really well for the system, because I think they were showing off some pretty impressive stuff for a handheld, what is effectively a handheld device that has to squish all this into about probably 15 watts max handheld versions. So
15 to 17 or 18.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I'm impressed with the hardware, actually. I think it's like a really good, you're actually getting quite a lot. You're certainly getting a lot more bang for your buck than you did back in 2017 when the Switch came out, which was already, I mean, this is underpowered in terms of if you compare it to consoles, but it's not underpowered for a hybrid device at all. So yeah, it's impressive, and we talk a bit more about it. But I thought it was good.
So before I go on to other people, and I will soon, but I can't remember, Luke, do you actually play things in handheld mode? Are you a person that plays portable games? Yeah. So I will. Funnily enough, it may change for this. I may be more 50-50. I hated using the Switch in docked mode because you would blow that up to a 55, 65, 77 inch OLED, and it would just look dreadful.
I just thought it's really bad because the resolution's so low. This, you know, if you're blowing, I don't know, Mario Kart up and it's 1440p, 4K, 60 FPS, it's going to look really nice on a big display now. So I was still probably, you know, I think I'll be more towards a handheld side because I really do like using it as a handheld. I liked using the Switch, but it gives me that option now that I know that the resolution is just going to be generally higher on this device. So,
JT, I'm going to ask you that same question because I don't know if you play handheld things either, but also, so the hardware and the specs and things, you can talk about anything specific if you want to, but generally, holistically from the games that they showed, so not drilling into what those games are and what looks like what, but holistically, are you happy with where it sits from the hardware perspective and what it's delivering from what we've seen of the launch games?
Yeah, I was actually, because I think my sort of one reservation I had coming into the Direct was this fear that given that they're not sort of in sync with Xbox and PlayStation's gens anymore, they kind of, you know, very much as they have been for a long time thematically, but now literally doing their own thing, releasing when they want. They're not sort of competing with Steam Deck, if anything else, right? That seems to be the closest competitor now. I was really afraid that they were going to come in underpowered, that it was going to sort of launch this year, middle of this year, as we've now seen with the June release date, and it just come out of the gate hobbled. And that's something that was really nice to see, the genuine step up from them. That was just in a broader sense, like you say, without getting too specific on individual games, just broadly to see that it had the option of it being HDR, 120 hertz refresh. I was just, it's not something we've typically seen from Nintendo. I know you referenced as well the other companies and the way they tend to break down their tech specs. Nintendo traditionally don't, because they don't care. They don't really have anything to say really with it, because it often it's a means to an end. It's why the art style for those games for Nintendo first party games tends to age so well, because they're having to build them for weaker hardware. So it's nice to see actually that the power conversation has kind of been in some ways put to bed with this one. I know it'll continuously be debated and there'll be comparison videos, of course, that's inevitable, but it's really nice to see them actually come out of the gate with this, not just this didn't feel as the sort of, didn't feel like a PS5 to PS5 Pro iterative step. It actually feels like more of a redesign in kind of the way that the Wii U had to walk so that the Switch could sprint. In that kind of sense, where you had the concept of the tablet and the off-screen gaming, but it was limited, and obviously with all the restrictions, etc. It does actually feel like more of a meaningful step than I was expecting. And I think you can also then flip that, you know, the devil's advocate to that would be like, you know, Nintendo finally have game chat. The fact that that was like an 8-minute segment as if it was some revolutionary inclusion. I don't think we need to spend too much time on the idea that now there's Discord on Switch. Like, that's basically what they're doing. Presented as they Nintendo do, as if it's like some kind of revolution to multiplayer experiences. But putting that aside for a moment, I think I think actually in terms of just the, you know, you do a side-by-side comparison with something like the launch Steam Deck, it is impressive actually, the innards of this thing. And the notion of running Nintendo games at 4K 60 in what they referred to as quality mode. I saw that little tag on the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond trailer, that's what they're referring to as quality, and then they've got the option of the 1080p 120. It's just really nice to see them actually care about that kind of thing. And it's always, you know, I bounced off of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom because I found the performance was just so frustrating. They didn't run well at all. And Luke said it best: when you blow that up to a big screen, I've got my 55-inch 4K telly, that thing's going to look like sin on that. So seeing them actually care about,
happily,
but just seeing them care about presentation in a meaningful sense, not in a superficial way, was a real nice surprise actually, given that I had the concerns going in that it was going to underwhelm in that area. So generally speaking, I felt like it was actually a little bit more than just a Switch Pro, effectively. Like, it felt like a bit more of a meaningful iterative step.
It's funny because what you both said there about not wanting to play the original Switch on a TV, I'm personally not a handheld gamer. I tried it a couple of times, but I don't get along with playing on that small screen. It's not how I like to enjoy a game. So for me, the Switch was kind of a disaster of a console, because there's quite a few games on there that I've wanted to play and I blow them off on the TV and go. So I've been really hoping that the next one delivers me crisper. I don't need like cutting edge 5090 graphics or anything, but I want clean lines at least. And it looks like I'm going to get that out of it. So I'm very happy. And I've got like a big backlog of original Switch games that I haven't played yet. That works for me. At the same time, when you talk about like the visual level that it's come in though, there's a comparison point to like not get too carried away with how good it looks, right? Because the kind of showcase game Mario Kart World is drawing comparisons with Forza Horizon, which is inevitable because they've gone, look, it's open world now, you can drive from race to race. It's like Nintendo's Forza Horizon, which is a game that came out a few years ago, right? Forza Horizon 5 was a few years ago, and there is a massive gulf between what Nintendo are trying to deliver and what Microsoft have delivered with a Forza game, because Nintendo, and they're not aiming to compete on that level, right? I'm not saying that as a criticism, but when you just look at the hardware target, it's kind of a relevant comparison to keep in mind when you talk about what we're going to get out of this console versus what their competitors, if you want to consider them competitors, which is, a conversation in and of itself. But
that's actually just to address something as well you said about just really quickly, sorry, just what you said about the preference of gameplay. My Switch became a home console. It became a docked platform because of those fucking Joy-Cons. I just couldn't get on with them at all. And actually, the Pro controller, I think, is one of the best controllers I've ever used. Yeah. And I quickly transitioned to that with my Switch docked and never used it handheld. Funnily enough, no, I have a 2.5-year-old that's feral. The idea of being portable with my gaming has suddenly become very logistically helpful. And I'd been I'd looked at the PS Portal and considered that, but then wasn't too convinced on the streaming side of it. So actually, I will probably end up using Switch 2 quite a bit in its handheld mode. I like what they've done with the Joy-Cons with the bigger sticks, and I think just for adaptability in my home setup, I know that I will find that more useful, and I'm kind of ready to dip into that a little bit more. The shiteness of those Joy-Cons kind of necessitated it being a home console for me. But yeah, so that's kind of where I landed.
There, Gamzly. You historically have made it very clear that you're happy with anything over 3 frames per second. You don't care what resolution a game runs at, and you'll still have a good time. Did the Switch 2 impress you?
Yeah, just put it on low settings. No, but it's funny that you were drawing the Forza Horizon, comparisons. The thing about Forza is like it ran very well on the Steam Deck, by the way. That's what's most impressive about that thing. So like, you're gonna get a Forza, and it's gonna look great on this thing. If Xbox keeps going that third-party route, I can for sure see a scenario where Forza looks and runs very well on this thing, because it's just a well-optimized, beautiful game. And it seems like the Switch could kind of handle it and kind of keep up with things like the Steam Deck. A lot of this surprised me. Luke said that the DLSS and the VRR was expected. I didn't think so. I for some odd reason, that was the most mind-blowing part, is that they actually like built this thing with those things in mind. And I know that's like kind of weird to say, but I just didn't believe Nintendo would do that. I thought they were just, oh, here's a powerful chip that could do like cool native stuff, and we're gonna target, our things, and nothing's going to be too crazy. But here they are giving us Hall effect joysticks, which is really nice for handheld devices. They are giving us 120 hertz, and they're showcasing the 120 hertz running on this. So Metroid, Mario Kart, they're running smooth, and I think for those games it's important, like especially if they're going to have like Fortnites and Call of Duty's on there performing. 120 hertz is very important, and if they could hit that natively, it's extremely important. And it looks like for some of their games they are doing that, and it's really nice to see just overall. So I expected 90 hertz personally. I thought they were going to follow lead with the Steam Deck, but it seems like they took a bigger shot. What else impressed me? The HDR definitely also impressed me. I thought that's nice. The LCD looks pretty crisp. We have like on our Discord, we have little screenshots and comparisons and stuff like that floating around, and it looked really nice to me. The letdown for a lot of people, no OLED. And I know that Luke loves his OLED. Luke, you lovely little. Anyway, you love the OLED. I do like the OLED too, as a person that actually plays handheld 99% of the time. I never really docked it. Yeah, it's just that's the only downer to me. Everything else seems really awesome. They upgraded to the express cards for their cartridges. Those are faster, run speeds and all that stuff. I find it awesome that whatever whatever drive they have or whatever is going on there, I mean, it's super fast on the load times. That fucking killed me every time. The one thing that kills me with the Switch is going from an Xbox or PlayStation or like a really beefy PC
Yeah,
and
it's
then
pretty
going
bad.
on to and then going on like Tears of the Kingdom, which we were all hyped about, and every load was 13 seconds, and I'm just like, please get me out. So seeing the load times being improved was nice to me, and I think it's necessary for handhelds in this day and age to load quickly and run well. And it seems like they're nailing it. There's a lot of bad things that I'm sure we're going to talk about, but for the tech specs, I think it's the best they could have done. I play a lot on my Asus ROG. I have a Legion Go, and I have a JPD. It's like a Chinese ripoff, a JPD Win Mini 2. And I use those 3 constantly. And I like that it's thin. It kept its shape. It kept the Nintendo Switch shape. For me, I'm a different case. I have disability in some sort of way, so I don't like those chunky controllers. That's why I actually don't use the Asus ROG most of the time. I actually just use a Legion Go in desktop mode with a Xbox controller that's easier, more compact, more easy for me to hold. I like the detachable Joy-Cons. I mean, everything about the Switch is nice. We didn't talk about the magnets, but they look really easy, and for me, that's a big thing. Just super accessible for me. Yeah, I mean, I'm freaking excited. The mouse thing is something that I'm going to spend like 2 seconds on the mouse thing. The mouse thing is something that we're like underlooking a lot. For a big player like them in the console space specifically, having them have this native built-in optical sensor for a mouse invites more console developers to make those inputs a thing and build games for consoles, like
I was daring them.
RTSs.
I was daring them to make Metroid Prime 4 support
yeah.
it, and then they showed it, and I was so happy.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I thought for sure that was a shoe-in. I think we said it in our Discord too. It's like for sure that was a thing, right? And RTSs, RTSs are a new thing in console gaming. We got Age of Empires and all that stuff coming, and 4X
Civilization,
games.
wasn't it?
Civilization, exactly. Yeah. So having big players like this really push the envelope is nice. And yes, I know you can plug in a mouse, you can plug in a keyboard, but having on a native device, a native controller that's always there, always in your face, is something, and you'll use it, or at least you'll try it. Inviting more developers to push that forward. So that's just my thought on that. I'm really excited for it.
Good. Yeah, no, that's cool. You mentioned particularly as well the mouse because, like you've already said that the Joy-Cons are particularly comfortable for you, so it may work really well as a mouse for you as well. That's a cool thing. It working as a mouse is a cool thing. It does obviously require more specific circumstances to use it as a mouse, because you need a flat surface for a mouse unless you've got Luke's incredibly boxy thighs, and then you're all right. Yeah, incredibly boxy flat thighs he's known for. So he'll be fine with a Switch mouse.
Stand up, Luke.
Absolutely not.
Stand up.
Don't ever tell me what to do.
Let's talk about what should we talk about next on the Switch though? Because we had a little look at that. There's obviously the pricing of the thing itself. There's there's some stuff going on in America and their pre-orders that we can touch on in a little bit. There's the price of the games. We haven't spoken about the
games.
You want to get into the games now? The thing is, the games is there's quite a lot to talk about. So where are we going to start, Luke?
Well,
we have.
I mean,
sorry, Luke.
No, go.
Just a quick second. We do have, if you have the dock open, like if you want to touch on the games, like they're all there. I don't know if you could even do this, and could you show the trailers while we talk about it, or is that like too hard
Impossible.
on the impossible? Huh?
Absolutely
Okay.
impossible.
So
What game would you like to talk about?
I think we should go by order. That would be nice. So Luke, I mean,
What?
they're all by order. Mario Kart
How many
World,
games were
let's
in
do
there,
it.
Gamzly?
Oh, then not too much. I mean, we're not gonna
We're doing it in order. Mario Kart World, take it away.
go ahead, Luke. I'll give you that.
See, I was going to go straight to Donkey Kong, so I'm quite disappointed now. But I
Too
will
bad.
I will talk about Mario Kart World because it looked really good. It looked really, really good actually. I was a bit skeptical how they'd improve over Mario Kart 8, just because that was so fully fledged anyway, and then they came out with the map packs and all of that sort of stuff. Just making it just a world, like an open world, is, in hindsight, that's such a simple but transformative thing to do for that series. And they look like they've pulled it off. I mean, it's like a biome. It's almost like a biomed world, effectively, like many open world games are, but within the Mario biomes. And it just looks really good. Obviously, they've increased the track size in terms of participants. So you can have 24 now. They've got this like SSX tricky like rail grinding stuff and wall riding. And there's really like interesting stuff where if you do Grand Prix now, you can race between the races in the segment of the open world that you're in. You do free roam. And they had that. So they've got that sort of battle royale last racer standing mode as well, which takes place across a quarter of a map in different segments. It's just cool. Like, it's just really interesting. Like, it's not mind-boggling in the context of what, open world driving games have done before, but in the context of Nintendo, it's quite unique stuff, and it's stuff that's quite adventurous for them.
Really glad you said that, because like we alluded to it earlier about the Forza Horizon comparison, simply because it's a sort of open space with a free roam mode. It's actually, I think, really important to, I think, when you're talking about a game like this, to actually just compare it to within its own series. Where have the steps been taken to develop this particular arm of the franchise? And it's really nice, I think, to see that, given that this is the first Mario Kart in 2 console generations, that it is that sort of, they're willing to push the boundaries of what this game can be. You think every other one has been a circuit-based kart racer, and this feels like like Nintendo being weird with it. Like when Double Dash came out, like the GameCube era was the weird era, which is why I love the GameCube so much, because it was Wind Waker and it was Double Dash. It was weird. Didn't land for everyone, but it was them experimenting. They were messing with their own formula, and I think that's what I really took away from Mario Kart World, is that they were willing to pull the rug out from under themselves and mess with their own formula. And that's a really exciting Nintendo, not the sort of, we're going to make Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which again, I'm not shitting on, because I had a great time with the map packs and everything on Switch, but I think, being willing to mess with their own success, I think, is a really cool arc for that, and do something different. That's what was so enticing for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. It just looks like, I mean, it's going to sell like a bajillion copies, right? It's Mario Kart, so it was going to do that anyway. So they didn't really need to innovate within the confines of the series or change it that much. They could have slapped out, another just track-based racer with 24
Mario
new
Kart
tracks.
9. Yeah, Mario Kart 9 would have been perfectly acceptable and sold immensely well in terms of attach rate. Like we alluded briefly to the pricing. There was I know we'll get to a lot more about the other stuff. I actually think that if you separate from the consoles and those accessories, I think the console's actually quite well priced for what it's offering. I think $395 for the console and then $429 bundled with Mario Kart. That's a significant saving on the game, given the game's individual pricing, which is astronomical. But I actually think that side of it was quite smartly pitched. Like $429 for a Switch 2 with Mario Kart World, I actually think is a really good deal.
Yes.
So, and given what we've just alluded to with the changes to that series and how they've tried to push it forward, I was really pleased to see that it wasn't cross-gen. And I'm someone who, you know, plays on Xbox. Most of those exclusives end up on PC day and date. You know, all of that stuff where the barriers between consoles are coming down and all that relevant evolutionary conversation we've had, you know, over the last couple of years.
15 years, it feels like.
Yeah, there's been steadily those barriers kind of collapsing, right? But actually, there is, as much as I have no desire to gatekeep anything. Like I want people to play great games wherever the fuck they want to play them on whatever their preferred controller or device is. I also think there is value in when you're investing in your next plastic box, when you're investing in your next thing, that you feel like there's something on it that you couldn't do with the last plastic box. And that's where, like, you know, you saw the PlayStation 5 when it first launched. Things like Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, Demon's Souls were then exclusive. And then they sort of stepped back a little bit with Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok being cross-gen. I was always a bit kind of deflated at that point. I don't know why they did it. It was a COVID adaptation. They hadn't had the attach rate yet for people upgrading. But it was really cool to see Nintendo go, no, Mario Kart World is only possible. It feels more exciting that it's only possible on our new platform. And I'm sure they could have done a scaled back version for Switch One. Of course they could have.
Forget any of the draw distance and Switch One version.
Yeah, it would just the game would be called Mario Kart Pop-In, wouldn't it? Like it just wouldn't have.
Oh my god!
Not at the speed at which you can go through the world of Mario Kart, because like there's open worlds on Switch, and like Breath of the Wild has like Tears of the Kingdom especially, like really impressive draw distances for what they are. But you progress through those worlds unless you make some like incredible contraption on Tears of the Kingdom, like very slowly. So it's actually quite easy to do on that.
It's so deliberately paced, and with this, given that you've got then 24 races, each taking potentially multiple different routes through an open space at that speed, that's where they're leveraging the tech really smartly. And that it was just nice from a sort of silly consumer perspective of like, oh, I'm getting my new plastic box. Show me what this one can do that the last one can't. That's a nice, very sort of primal feeling that I have towards this, where I'm like, I'm really thrilled to see that this is something I'm going to feel like that's going to have a certain uniqueness to it when I play that on launch day. I'll be like, okay, great. I'm playing my launch title that I couldn't play before. And that's exciting.
Gamzly, Mario Kart World.
Oh man, that new mode where they go from like 24 players to 1 or something like it. I've been watching the Treehouse live stuff, and it just looks great. It's the little details, you know, when they matter, you know. So when you're on the cart and you're going through these little desert areas and you do a turn and whatever, he does like his body, like their bodies shift in like micro ways, like just small shifts in weight. You see it. It's the wheels kind of bounce and they twist and they act all weird. It's really fun and amazing to see, especially like the grinding stuff that looks new.
The wall jump I thought was really cool, actually.
Oh dude, when he grinds on the rail and then like jumps on the wall to evade a shell, like that was fucking nuts.
Did you did you sorry to interrupt, did you see on the Treehouses one of the bits that was really cool that I really liked? Again, not in context, this is really cool. In one of the Grand Prix, one of the last levels, there's like a wave based bit, like an actual you're on the water, and they were playing it, and it was like heavily undulating because the weather was like very tumultuous in the race. And then when they came out of the race, they were in free roam and they were still in that track, but the rain stopped, and then it basically turned to morning, and like the waves just became still. Like they were just kind of very just normal stuff. So it's just stuff like that, which is like for Nintendo, that's actually really impressive, you know. Like I mean, you'd expect it in other games, but like for Nintendo, it's like, okay, they've actually thought about this, you know. So
can we get into that just for a second? Because there's a comment I wanted to just address from chat from CFresh2180 saying Nintendo's getting a pass on everything, lame-o, right? LMAO. And I want to get to that because I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Luke, where you said like, oh, for Nintendo, that's something that's really impressive. And again, I just think that's where these sort of redundant comparisons to be like, oh, why doesn't Metroid Prime 4 look like Call of Duty? Well, because it doesn't. Because that's its art style, and that's made for that platform, and it's not trying to be that. And I don't think Nintendo, by making Mario Kart World, are trying to chase the Burnout Paradises and the Forza Horizons of the world. I think that's a redundant and reductive comparison. it is important, I think, for us to then look within the franchise and go, what haven't they done before, and what are they now trying to do? And little flourishes like that, that's Nintendo magic that we've seen time and again in loads and loads of different games. Just take the possession mechanic, the Odyssey hat mechanic, right? Just that alone being such a transformative idea, such a simple concept, not revolutionary. There are games where you can take on multiple forms and change who you are and your character's abilities. That's happened ad infinitum. But it's the way they deploy it within their own worlds that's so exciting. And I do want to say, though, and I know we're going to get to this, that to specifically address that comment from Seafresh, you know, if I just quickly rattle it off, those empty game cards are nonsense. The game chat thing is not revolutionary at all, and the frame rate on that stuff was shit. It looks awful. And the game pricing is nonsense. So they're not getting a free pass on everything. I'm sure we'll get to it more in a bit when we go through everything bit by bit. But let's just make sure that there's not this sort of assumption that we're just being uniformly positive for the sake of it.
Yeah,
just,
not at all. Like, like Nintendo moves aggressively slow, but when they move deliberately, and it's nice, you know, like it's almost like an Apple feeling, you know, when Apple does it, it's amazing. It's the same kind of you know, nostalgia heart tug. I don't know, it's just they're doing something right because we feel the nostalgic tug, right? They did something right at some point in time, and they just keep giving us little nuggets, and it really hits us the right way. It doesn't negate all the stuff they do wrong. For Mario Kart 9, like there's stuff that I'll get into later, but for now, sticking to this, Mario Kart 9, I can't really pick apart. I'm not going to pick apart the graphics. You know, it was never about that with them, you know, so I can't do that. It looks wonderful. The colors pop. The like I said, the carts react to the environment. The weather reacts with the cart. The weather reacts with Mario. Everything's dynamic. It really shifts well. It runs well, and that's Nintendo. You know, the little details. Their games run really well. And that should be praised, because there's a lot of games that just don't. Beside the Pokemon game, they have a very good record with games. So we're giving them the credit there, but we're gonna smash them on the price stuff very soon. So yeah, that's Mario Kart 9. I love their new mode. I think that a lot of games do a lot of stuff better. I think a lot of Sonic racing is like super quick, and a lot of ideas in Sonic racing really do outshine some of the things in Mario Kart, like for sure. But the feel is just not there, and I can't really pinpoint why. It's just not there. You could call it nostalgia. You could call it, I don't know, innovation. I have no idea. I like it. I think it looks great. Definitely not worth, you know, 5 million Canadian dollars.
So for me, I'm probably I can relate to what Seafresh is saying, right? Because most of the time when Nintendo present anything, and gaming journalists, if there is such a thing, fall all over it, like in love. I can normally look at that and go, I don't see it, right? I'm quite the critic of Nintendo in general, but not so much regards this Mario Kart, because besides the fact I've said, like as a tech showcase, it's a million miles behind Forza Horizon for me. But as a game, it's got rain, so I'm happy, and it looks brilliant. I actually cannot wait to play this. That's rare for me. If you had shown me Mario Odyssey, this would not be my attitude towards it. But I'm just really, really looking forward to getting into some 24-player races on Mario Kart. I think it genuinely looks very good. But I mean, you've all said plenty about what Nintendo are doing with it and how that game is shaping up. You've all touched on how that price is shaping up as well, and it's made waves and has actually got due criticism across the social medias, as far as I can tell, because it is a bit of a shock, and people are already quite vocal and quite passionate about how they feel about the price of games. So it would be inconsistent if people didn't moan about what's happening here. Nintendo have come out and said that Mario Kart World, whatever it is going to be $80. I actually don't know the price in the UK. I think it's
74. It's £74.99 physical, 67 or £68 digital, I believe.
Yeah. So quite expensive for a game. They're kind of the front runners for most expensive games going on there. And we all know that being Nintendo, that price is the price that game is going to cost for the next 20 years. They're going to give us no inches of discount
Sales,
on that thing.
Do you think a lot
No
of the
inches,
fears
huh?
then are coming from people sort of looking at Nintendo being this market leader, and now they're willing to set the price at that level? It's where other publishers then will then follow suit potentially. You look at GTA and the rumors around it being $100, and I think that seems to be the sentiment I've picked up, is that a lot of people are sort of afraid that this will set a precedent for other publishers to follow suit. I don't know whether necessarily that will be true and pan out like that, but it's certainly a reasonable thing to postulate and consider. It's interesting too, actually, seeing the breakdown that the physical is outweighing the digital. Because I bought the Switch 1 thinking it was going to be my first all digital console, and then because I got so sick of the lack of sales and the eShop pricing, that I ended up buying a lot of physical Switch games, often from like supermarkets like Asda, because they'd have them at a really reasonable price. And I have a huge Switch physical library that, again, it's really nice to see that that's going to be supported on Switch 2, natively. It's just interesting to see them now go the other way, that digital is now slightly undercutting the physical. And is this sort of their way of is this the iterative step towards now the inevitable phasing out of physical? Eventually,
Yes.
that the game store in its traditional sense will disappear. We've seen that with the empty game cartridges that prompt the download thing that they're doing, which is really bizarre. I know that they've sold physical game boxes with a paper code in them. I actually felt like the physical card was more about combating piracy than anything else. It was kind of their move to stop that. All very odd. It's all some very odd decision making, and yeah.
Maybe they maybe they knew. Oh my god! Once the store runs properly and doesn't lag like fucking bullshit, people are gonna start buying digital all the time, and go that way. Like right now, the store runs like shit. Like I don't like using.
Yeah, it's
Have you guys did that? I'm pretty sure they even commented on the digital store how like
They did.
that was a big focus for them or something like while doing
running
this is
better.
like getting the digital running better. But the digital thing is interesting because I think new reports somewhere says it's like 50-50 now for Nintendo, and everywhere else it's been a landslide of just digital, right? Like 80% somewhere along that line. Yeah, of course, history repeats themselves, and I think they see it with the sales, right? They see it with the times, and more people are buying in. I think when Xbox tried to do this exact same thing way too early, I think it was because there was still a big split, not ready to move,
And
right?
proportionally still more physical than digital at that point.
Exactly. But fast forward all the way now, people are like, they're the last ones standing, and they're even seeing Nintendo, the ones that are physical almost always, right? They're even seeing a 50-50 split right now. So maybe they're just embracing it and trying to get out, get in line with that DRM idea.
As that continues to move in that direction.
Exactly.
Because that's something where, again, people, again, sort of the general sentiment I've seen around them sort of concerned about what other publishers will do in response, that it kind of almost is reflective of the market too, because as game prices have gone up, there's clearly data from these publishers seeing that we can charge 70 quid and people are buying it. Oh, people are now shifting more digital. Great, let's put our energy there in terms of promotion and etc. And then you sort of factor in all of those sort of bonus digital, deluxe editions and ultimate editions of games. Like, we're seeing that become so commonplace, and games charging that much for relatively, not that much difference. And there's certainly no physical benefit to buying those things. That there's obviously data to these publishers sort of showing them, because it is a business at the end of the day, there's obviously data showing them that people are willing to pay these prices in quantities that are enough to justify continued charging that much money for it. Equally, you've seen publishers this year find huge success with what you'd call quote-unquote budget price releases. Split Fiction, Helldivers 2. They've had massive success attracting huge player numbers by pricing appropriately for what those games are. So it's like with anything, there is also the other side to this argument that, as dramatic as people are being with the whole drop the price spamming in their chat and all of those things, It
Might
is
be
relative to
effective,
also
though.
your investment, right? Because someone could say to me, you're a maniac for buying Mario Tennis Aces for 50 quid when it first came out, but I fucking love Mario Tennis so much that you could charge me 70 quid and I'm fine with it. You know, so, but it's always so relative to your own personal investment. It's, I think people then, to allude to what C-Fresh had said before about, you know, the Nintendo Magic kind of not working on him, if it's just not your thing, then you don't associate any value with it. It doesn't matter whether it's 20 or 80. So there is a more nuanced conversation needed there. That being said, it does seem like quite a sharp increase relative to what we'd seen from prior. Like, I mean, I was able to get most first-party games from on Switch for 50 quid last gen. That's quite a step up, you know, just on a percentage basis. And that's probably where a lot of the, certainly it was quite jarring for me, but seems to be where a lot of the negativity is coming from.
It's like the conversations around the price of games are always kind of headache inducing in a sense, and because it's very much a matter of perspective, and people's perspective is important, right? And their perception of value is important and is what Nintendo are going to be guided by. But ultimately, what a game is worth is such a nebulous idea. Like, what a game is worth, there's a budget for development of that game in the hundreds of thousands, millions, whatever it'll be. That's a hard value. You can actually calculate that and say this game is worth this much. There's a value to selling it to a publisher, like to own that game and to own that IP. You could define a value and say it's worth this many millions. But the value of a digital copy is almost arbitrary. Like, we base our expectations on what we're used to from games that we've already played. So all the conversations on what it should be and what's a fair price and all the rest of it is like, well, ultimately it's a digital copy. It has no value. The number is picked out of someone's ass. They're just trying to pick whatever figure is going to get them the biggest return based on that perception that people have, which is rooted in history and nothing else. So Nintendo were playing this game, and they've picked their price. They've stuck a little flag in the sand and said, yeah, $80 for this. And it's a weird one because it's Mario Kart. You can get it for 35 quid bundled in with a console, and you'd assume that'll be the vast majority of its sales. Everyone is going to go there. It's a no-brainer of a deal. Like, you're going to get the bundle if you can. So, Luke, why did they invite this negative conversation around the launch of the Switch rather than waiting until their next big game, given that everyone's going to buy it in the bundle anyway?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, and I said this on the Discord, I think their pricing for games is clearly very flexible this generation, so they're willing to push it more, I think, for their big stuff. Because if you look at the price of this compared to Donkey Kong is cheaper. And going back to subjective value, in no world should Donkey Kong, to me, be cheaper than Mario Kart. I would gladly pay $100 for a 3D Donkey Kong game. But anyway,
there it is. The exact
there it is. But I think at least part for this game, it's clear that they really want to push people towards the bundle. They really want people to buy the bundle because it's a very easy kind of consumer matrix if you look at it and you're interested in buying stuff, because you want to buy Mario Kart because everybody wants to buy Mario Kart. You want to buy a Switch too. And then you're like, oh, I can get Mario Kart included and it only costs me £35 extra. Well, that's the one I'm going to go for. So it's obvious that kind of ancillary to that, it sort of punishes people who can't get it, can't get that bundle. And I'd be interested to see like how many of those bundles they make. I suspect it would be
actually end up getting it. That'd be really interesting, wouldn't it? For sure.
Yeah, I suspect it would be the most dominant bundle out there. But I mean, equally, I think it's a bit of a test in the water for Nintendo to see what people will pay for their big tentpole games. So
strategically, sorry.
No,
I'm going to be really quick. Yeah. Strategically, you could kind of see their process. Like if I was in that boardroom, I'd do the same thing. I'd be looking at demand because that's very easy to analyze, right? Oh, look. Mario Kart 8 sold 50 billion copies, and Donkey Kong sold nothing or whatever, right? So to push that to push your system, you need as many people in your ecosystem to buy into that beautiful, Donkey Kong that is not a Mario and does not have the Mario name. Hello. Needs as much consoles out in the world as possible to sell as much as possible, right? So strategically, I could see it. I'd be like, yeah, drive the console with this thing, get as much consoles in people's hands. This thing is like an easy buy. Everybody wants it. And then our other games can have success, right? As much success, or our games with not as big of a name, which I actually top my hat to them because they could have done a Mario Odyssey, but they chose a big Donkey Kong, right? So push as many consoles with the Mario Kart, and then you can then sell your new, let's say, big all-star iconic Donkey Kong that you want to push a little bit more and have a broader number buying into it or thinking about it. I think it's strategically very, very, an easy strategy. It's just a little, it's just a little fucked up. It's just a little
because
anti-consumer.
That ties in. Yeah. It ties in with that attach rate we saw on Switch 1. That the software attach rate was actually significantly higher than what we'd seen relative to other consoles. So they got people with the Breath of the Wild. There was your Mario Kart World equivalent. And then the attach rate was so much higher for other software. Like it was something like, on average, 13 or 14 games.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy.
On average. And that was early in its life cycle. So they're clearly looking at that data and pushing for that. And it's allowed me to try and avoid any false equivalencies where you sort of see people say like, oh, Red Dead Redemption 2 had a $500 million budget and they only charged $60. Yeah. And then like Kirby the Forgotten Land probably was made for a $5 and they charged $50 for it. But then, if someone really wants a Kirby game, they'll pay that because that's what they've decided is okay. It's just this guy, right? So it's a fascinating thing. I think I actually would rather than sort of drill down on like, oh my god, this game's now 75 quid or this game's only 60. I'm actually looking at it more about, okay, what's going to be my investment for launch and what's this going to look like to buy in? Because I want a Pro controller. I definitely want that GameCube controller because GameCube library, thank you very much. Finally, I just willed that into the universe by mentioning it every week. It's actually looking at what that investment's going to look like now. I think it's actually going to be quite an expensive buy-in just to get what you need. People are going to have to make some really tough decisions, I think, for what they do and don't buy because of practicality. And I think that's perhaps where I definitely fell a little bit more negative on some of the pricing, like something like a set of Joy-Cons, wasn't it being priced at $90 or something?
Yeah, it was always a sticker shock for the Joy-Cons.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then
the Pro controller is less, right? Yeah,
it's just bizarre.
Yeah, the Pro controller is a little less than the Joy-Cons, correct? If I remember,
it is. It is.
Yeah, it's nuts, and it looks really awesome.
It looks lovely with those the two G triggers on the back, and but again, there's some people that will be like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm playing a handheld. Why do I need a Pro controller?" So all of these conversations are all about personal taste. It's I think again, much like we talked about with you look at Mario Kart's iteration as a game relative to its own series rather than other open world races. I think you look at what Nintendo's done hardware wise and where that has worked previously and where those increases have then come into play. That's where I think perhaps the $74.99 Mario Kart World has been quite a tough pill to swallow because of the quite on a percentage basis, the sharp increase to that.
Yeah, in this economic environment as well, where everything's going to complete shit. It's
don't worry, Gamzly, it's all going to get worse. It's all going to get worse at price high now.
It's all going to get worse, and
it's only shitter from here, boys.
It's fucking awful. It's interesting. I wanted to. If you told me 10 years, I don't know, 3 days ago before or 5 days ago before the event, that this would be such a struggle for Nintendo and such interesting conversation after such a successful thing, I'd be like, yeah, there's no way. But it's wild that we're even here. But I hope it succeeds. This reads to me like a very 3DS thing to me, where they're gonna come out the gate, swinging. And oh my god, it looks like all of you froze for a second. It fucked me up.
Paying attention.
it feels like a 3DS thing where they price it way too high, they get really ambitious with it, and they throw out this new technology, and they wave their hands. They're like, you don't care, Pokemon, and you're gonna buy it. Hopefully, that actually happens, and they drop everything a little bit, because that was a big shift in the 3DS, right? It didn't do well in the beginning.
A
and
sudden
then
sort of not reversal, but it was like a rethink, wasn't there, of like
Right.
their pricing and the strategy, and obviously they have the
Exactly.
iterative versions. I want to just really quickly just shout out Abdul114 in the chat, who mentioned that the Pro controller from Switch 1 is going to be compatible.
Yep.
Which I did not know that
And
until
the
just now.
N64 controller,
Everything.
apparently, which is a hell of a
Everything
something.
is
I want to
delightful.
really quickly grab.
Yeah.
Nate State Games has been a member for 12 months, one trip around the sun. So, Nate, that's awesome. Thank you for supporting in that way. I hope you're enjoying the podcast and whatever else we've got going on. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
The pricing conversation is funny because in a much smaller, darker corner of the internet, I've seen a lot of people complaining about the price of Civilization 7 on the Quest, because that game is selling for $60. And it's going to sell like 5 copies because there aren't many people playing in VR. So perspective and economics are difficult to grasp in some circles, I guess. But yeah, this for me, Mario Kart it's an astronomical price. People are going to complain. People are right to complain. You should always argue for better value for yourself. So I'm all on board with the complaining. I think it's a relatively safe way to introduce it for Nintendo. Like Mario Kart World can absorb this negativity. It's going to sell in the bundle. People are going to buy it. It's Mario Kart World. They can get away with it. And now when it comes to Mario Galaxy 3, whatever it's going to be, or Zelda Tears of the Bollocks, I don't know what the next one of them is going to be, and they introduce this price, there'll be less of a backlash. I wish I hadn't said that.
I don't want that.
I don't want that.
I want that.
But let's move on, though.
That's so British. Yeah, Zelda Tears of the Bollocks, or whatever that is.
It's one of my most look forward to games on that thing is to go back to the Tears of the Actual, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I've been waiting for. I'm going to play the crap out of them on the new thing. But moving on from that, because pricey, and we can all broadly agree 80 is too much, and we want it to be less. JT, go on. What are you going to ask?
More.
Sorry, not because I know you're desperately trying to move on from pricing, but I want to put this to you guys. I genuinely want your thoughts on this. Do you think that pricing like that becomes more palatable when you factor in how much time you're going to get out of it?
No.
Okay.
No, because I mean, at least for me, I don't ascribe value to value. To time spent.
Okay.
I ascribe value to the experience. So if the experience is 7 hours, but if it's 7 hours and it's premium, I don't care if I paid 80 or 20 for it. It's a great experience. 100%. I've seen so many people saying like, "Oh, this is only going to be 10 hours long. I shouldn't be paying more than £30 for this," and I hate that. The only thing I'd say with that is that the calculus with that is different from person to person, and in particular, I think when I realized when I say that, and when most people say this, it's actually from a position of privilege. Because it's actually,
my God, yeah,
like not in a thingy way, but like I can afford to, like it's not the money that like bothers me about like I'm not bothered if something costs more as long as it's a really good thing. But for a lot of people, they might be looking at several competing products because they can only get one product, and so actually the time out that they get from the product is. The calculus of that is far more important than maybe how premium or how great the product is. Do you know what I mean? So like I do like the context is quite important.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm so glad you said that because it's so easy, I think, to forget what a privileged hobby this actually is. Look at the podcast talking about it on the internet right now with our setups and everything, right? There is a really important side to this where for a lot of people, they would have looked at, I think, that pricing announcement and parents particularly, I'm one of them, hearts would have sank and they'd have gone, oh shit, when my kid asks for this for Christmas, how the hell am I going to be able to afford something like that? Which is, again, it is a very, that's not a kind of tiny violin woe is me moment. We know that these are first world problems and this is something that, people, this is a thing that people, it's a privilege to be able to enjoy these things. But it is something I think that gets forgotten often in this conversation. The nuance of this often gets forgotten, which is that it can be really inaccessible for a lot of people when you price things
Yep.
that.
Well, especially something that's why I'm gonna hop off that and be like, continue that little 3DS thing. That's why it's like, yo, you're asking me to buy buy this kind of family oriented thing for $280 that I
Yeah.
have to buy multiple of versus this thing I plug in my TV, everybody could play it. I don't know, $700 premium experience. It's like you're buying multiple of these things. So if that thing gets hit and you see the sticker shock of like 599 Canadian dollars and the freaking that's a Series S X, by the way. And then you see the games are $90 plus. You're like, holy shit! I'm a dad that wants to play with my son. That's how we got into it. It's like there's no way I'm. That's why I'm actually very scared for them, right? Because they need this to kind of take off. They need this to be a reasonable price tag. We also know that what can mitigate this huge price, impact that they could be seeing is that they're not selling at a loss anymore. They haven't been.
Right.
So they could kind of take the shot, kind of like they did with the 3DS, but 3DS was worse because they weren't selling at cost. I could see them being like, oh yeah, drop this by 100 because this is way slower than we thought it was going to sell. And for third parties, that's very important. For third party, support, you're going to need to see those consoles pop out, and Switch was very successful. The first one was very successful with stuff like Witcher and Skyrim being on there because the adoption was just so large and so
And
huge.
the sports games.
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Things like you're seeing that you've got your FCs, your 2Ks, your W2Ks in there straight away is a sign of faith in from those publishers because they can see the attach rate, right? They can see that it's been adopted well. So I'm glad we've been able to cover that, guys, because I think that's a really not only just the value to time equation that sometimes gets sort of confused for some people, but also just the reality of this might not be a very practical thing for people to buy into.
You see what's happened here? I've painted JT in a bad light. I said he was mean behind the scenes. So he said, right, I'm going to add 45 minutes to the pricing discussion. Well, JT, I see how it is. It's fair enough.
We went through
good revenge.
We went through one game, just one.
That's where we
to Donkey Kong.
Yes.
No, we're going to do the trailers in order. So,
tally ho, boys.
One very last thing on Mario Kart, because on the value thing on the 80,
so now you're continuing it.
Still there.
Well, I get to play, right? I'm always really careful not to say whether something is worth a buy or not in terms of value, because that is a very personal. Like, everyone's circumstances are different, disposable income is different, how you perceive a game is different. So that's everybody's own decision to make, but complain for it to be lower. One thing that we haven't seen yet is I fully expect Mario Kart World to be getting content for the next 8-10 years, and we don't know what they're going to do in terms of. Because you look at an 80 quid and you go, well, there's no microtransactions. Well, let's see what they do charge when they start adding content, because they're surely going to, and I want them to.
Forza Horizon style expansions, new islands. There you go.
I'll take that.
That's what they need to do. That's what they
But
need
what
to
about
do.
new hats?
I'd be
Mario in a blue hat.
both.
Yeah, blue Mario.
If I pre-order it, I get blue hat, but it's a new biome. That's for sure.
Yeah. Put a
How
Master Chief
fucking
helmet on my Mii. Oh, I fucking use my Mii. Go on, Gamzly.
No, hold on a second. Am I the only one that wants Mario Kart to? You shut up. Am I the only one that wants Mario Kart to embrace the multiverse type of stuff and get like a freaking MCC collection of I don't know, Mario?
No,
it's already done it, right?
No.
You can be the bad guys. They're racing Mario. Put whatever the fuck you want in there.
I don't know. You do.
Come on, man.
You know the one thing.
Master
One of the
Chief
most
in there.
One of the most
Come
egregious pieces of DLC I've ever seen in my life is where they added a Mercedes car to Mario Kart 8.
Oh,
Fuck
yeah, I
off.
forgot about that.
Best. What?
That was the worst. It stuck out like a sore thumb. It made no sense that you had like Donkey Kong being like, I'm just jumping my Merc, my E-Class. It was so dumb and I hated it. Don't do it. Leave it alone.
DLC Seth Rogen laugh for Donkey Kong. That's what I want.
Yeah, that in there. I also want to see DLC character. Crash Bandicoot, camera's the wrong way around. Got to drive towards the screen.
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, you automatically have no idea where you're going.
Yeah, exactly that. Let's move on though to the next trailer, because this is one that I know you got some stuff to say about. It's not even a game. Second thing in the direct, so we're not necessarily going to go through every item one by one because we'll run out of time. But the second thing in the direct was the legendary game chat. JT, you've already had some words about it. How impressed were you by Discord Lite, choppy frame rate nonsense mess?
Well, okay, so I'll deal with the good and work my way to the shit of this. It's a dedicated button on the controller. The C button is lovely. They've made it matter, right? So they're clearly pushing this in a way that is meaningful to them, right? I'm being very generous here. I think having cross game chat and you being able to sort of have that as a thing at the bottom without the video, so it's just stripping the video away from it for a moment, is just a really nice thing. I know I'm just going to speak anecdotally. My stepdaughter, who plays Switch with all her friends, finds it really awkward when she has to have Discord on her phone. The headphones don't work because of the Bluetooth, like the latency delay when she's got the Switch docked. It's a really tough setup for her when she's playing online, so having an easy option to chat while she's playing Fortnite on her Switch with all her friends that's a really nice thing. Those picture-in-picture camera views that they show when they cut to that was dreadful. Like the video quality and the frame rate, it looked like CCTV. It's not good. And I know that there was no viable way for them. Like the hardware would have just imploded if it was trying to render all of that at once. I think it's really, really poorly implemented, and I kind of just wish they hadn't. I think the video quality and it was the frame rate for me, especially when they switched to the view that blew it up full screen. That was horrible. It was like someone was actually drawing it live every frame. Shite.
Like that has to be like intentional, right? Because they think that their servers or bandwidth, I don't know, fucking that tech stuff, but can't handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Having all that
someone
stuff there.
though. Let's play that out, Gamzly. Let's play that out. Both versions of this, where someone has looked at it, thinking that it's great, and gone ship it. First of all, Maniac. Then there's the other guy that's gone. The servers, we can't do this. Let's limit it to this. This'll be okay. Also, Maniac. It's shit, and it was really odd. It stuck every time they cut to it. It stuck out so badly. I mean, that was really poor. I really didn't like that at all.
To try and pretend that there's some good in there, right? Hypothetically, you're playing it like this. You're on Fortnite. You got your squad. Their cameras are at the bottom. You're watching your game, right? And you just have a little glance to see where on the map they are. It will hold up for that, wouldn't it? Like it's not completely useless. Just horrible. If you actually try and focus on those screens, you'll probably feel sick. But you don't focus on those screens. Yeah.
Imagine you're like, oh my god, let's have fun. Oh, that's a nice game. Can you show me how to get into the cavern in Zelda? And they're like, yeah, dude, put on your camera, and you're just like,
it looks like fucking Pong. Which is no, I don't think. I think that's pretty irredeemable, really. I think just from a functionality standpoint, having the audio chat in there is really nice. I will say that I don't know how well it will work in everyone's living spaces, but what appeared to be sort of automatic chroma keying people out, where it kind of removed the background, and like you saw it in Mario Party, didn't you, in Jamboree, where they kind of overlaid not your background, just you into the game. That was some quite impressive tech from a Nintendo standpoint. You know, that actually, if that actually works.
NVIDIA Broadcast Lite, this is their partner doing the work, because NVIDIA Broadcast on a PC will do that for you. This is a slightly rougher looking version just because of the hardware at hand, but they are making some use of it.
That's a nice implementation of that. But yeah, the quality of the picture-in-picture video views was disgraceful. And
NVIDIA Broadcast as well. It's going to be doing some heavy lifting on that open mic voice chat from across the room. Hopefully.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was funny. I don't believe any of it. We didn't even touch on that. It's good that they have those mics there. I think that's really awesome, so you don't have to buy something as an extra. We didn't speak on the actual capability. First off, Wi-Fi 6 is really awesome for them. Like finally they're gonna have a good Wi-Fi fucking chip in it, because the other one was god awful. But we didn't talk about you could have different cameras. So I wonder if I put in my Logitech, like, whatever I have here, is it gonna be that much better? Will it communicate? I don't know, but they said that compatible cameras will work. Do you think they lock that down? Or do you think they open that?
Yes, whether the video view is sort of determined by the hardware rather than the actual
Yeah,
camera
because
being put
to
in.
me, yeah. Do you think they let
So
us
on
use
the
our cameras?
nerdy side of it, yes, they will. It's just going to be a UVC open plug and play camera standard. I think the PlayStation 5 does it as well. So you can use a Logitech camera on that,
No,
and it
Xbox
would just
does.
kind of work. Or maybe it's Xbox. I can't remember which way around it was because it's not something I actually do, but I did look at it a long time ago.
Xbox does. You can just literally plug and play a USB webcam in there, and it works.
I imagine it's much the same.
It's cool.
There is one I saw. I don't know if it's an official Nintendo product, but I've seen it float, and I hope I wasn't just duped by AI or someone just like a fan thing. But I saw a piranha plant.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. No,
that's real.
real.
It's
now
a Nori
that nearly
product.
got me. That because I saw that the camera's in the mouth, and I kind of went, "Oh well, that's jolly. I quite like that."
You could unplug it. You could unplug it, and it's just the stem with the camera, and then you could plug it on top of your system. Yes,
yes.
It is real.
That I kind of went like, okay, there's a little STEMI piranha plant in the top of my Switch too. That's jolly.
And what I will say about that too is that I know this is like weird, but I have me having younger nephews is not weird, but I am around them a lot, and I do get their sense of like societal networking, and it is like they're always on their cameras nowadays with like FaceTime, just like passively walking around. It's like, what the hell is this?
My son,
yeah, like it's a thing.
They're always on video chat all the time.
It's a thing, and so that if you plug this little camera in there and just walk it around all the time and using that as a little communication device, I could see this
Such
little
a
network
good point.
being something.
Such a good point. And I'll devil's advocate myself. Clearly not the target market. They're not going to give a fuck about the frame rate. They're just going to want to see that they can see their mates down there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So actually, it's probably going to blow up and be really successful.
Imagine.
And someone in chat, I think it was Stephen Southwick said, at least it was an honest presentation of it, which I actually really like.
They could have appled it, right? They could have totally lied about that and made it perfectly smooth. But no, they were honest, so we'll give them some credit for that, I suppose. And for me, I will never deliberately press that C button. But
you need like a bit of blue tape. Just put a bit of blue tape over it. So
Big X.
What about you, Luke? Are you going to use it?
Only if I'm forced to by gunpoint, I think. Otherwise, I will not be using it. It's cool that it's there, but if you'd have watched, so I watched this at my desk at work, and if you would have panned to my face at the point at which they started demoing this, and you'd have seen the gravity of the eye roll that I did, and the quick look away to concentrate on other things, I think that probably would have told you what I thought about it, because it was just like, oh, okay, Nintendo are doing a thing which has been around forever, and they're doing it in the most like
terrible way.
But yeah, like the most rudimentary way possible. Being like, look how cool this is. So
but it's like, but then remember like how bad. Just don't forget that on the Switch 1, you had to use a mobile app, a separate mobile app to voice chat only in Splatoon. Or Smash Brothers.
So,
Smash Brothers and Splatoon.
It's a generational leap in that way.
For Nintendo, it's next gen.
Twist from me, though, the Nintendo Switch was my favourite online system because I don't want people to talk to me.
It's good
I love just having a little me there and playing multiplayer games and not talking to people. Put up a little message in a bubble.
I'm fucking loving your soul. You know what this Nintendo reminds me of the 3DS Nintendo a lot. I really appreciate it. When I saw the C button and I heard the sound of the teaser, I really did think that they were going to do this Mi Plaza, kind of, communication system that you'll be able to remember that system where it pinged people near you. Like it had this little, yes, exactly. Like something to like deep dive into something like that and make that as your forefront of your technology again, because in a post Pokemon Go world where people like stuff like stuff like that, being near people and having an experience like that, really blew it up. And after the pandemic and all this stuff, like you'd think that they'd try again with these like little community special features. And I thought it would be marvelous to have like that C button be like this community HUD where it's very Miiverse. You could see people around you, trade items, or maybe even integrate Pokemon Go in there, and your controller would vibrate if you're near something. I don't know, like something like that, right? That I thought would have been a slam dunk. Maybe one day, right? Where they're gonna do it because they're 50 years behind. But I thought that would have been a cool idea. But I could see how that's probably way too much work for their dev team. That's like probably 3 guys in a bunker. But yeah.
I think that's really key, because I think we can separate our feelings on it from a quality standpoint and from perhaps our own personal interest versus how much it's going to actually get used. I actually could see this C button game chat service being used a lot by people, particularly younger gamers. So it's just whether you know, separating the sort of end result quality output from how much it's actually going to be utilized, I think is definitely an interesting separation.
Especially
Side
one
point
more
on
thing,
it.
Asa.
Go on.
No, you be quiet.
I said, go on.
No, I love you
mute the
so much.
fuck out of you.
I
I'm
love
gonna-
you. I'm so sorry. I won't go long on this one. Like, do you think that because if you bought a Switch One for your son or daughter at 8 years old or whatever, now they're like 16, right? Now they're playing the Call of Duties and they're playing the Forzas or whatever. Do you think this really plays in their favor? And like, especially with that generation growing up with this thing and being used to it, and then seeing this new, you know, communication device that's really easy for them to hop into Fortnite with their friends. And do you think it's going to work out for them?
I think it's a very attractive proposition.
Like,
I
that's
think
why they did it. Like, you know,
Yes,
they were
for
probably
sure.
thinking about that.
No, I completely agree with that. I think that's exactly what they're thinking, and I know that I can say this from first-hand experience of seeing how my kids have used Discord or had to sort of Frankenstein to set up while they're playing on Switch, and that the idea of this coming along with a nice, and to keep them in that ecosystem which they really like, offering them an easy way to do that is just a no-brainer. So yeah, absolutely.
Ultimately, like, social connection is a nice thing, but it's also massively powerful from the whole commercial perspective in terms of making a system endearing and spreading it like a viral fire to other people. And getting people doing things together is massively powerful. So you can absolutely see why they've done all of this. Question though, just cast back your mind like to 2013 or whatever, and Microsoft have got a console with an open microphone and camera in the Kinect, and the world is shitting themselves about privacy concerns, in part because Microsoft have been talking to their partners about how they're going to spy on you and see what you're watching on your telly so they can advertise better. Luke, are people right to kind of, or why are people giving Nintendo a pass on this when the backlash was so strong 12 years ago? Is it that our expectations have changed, or is it a difference between the companies and their approaches? Like, what's going on there? Why is there no noise?
I think it's a bit of a couple of things. One, I think it is Nintendo, so people would give Nintendo the benefit of the doubt over this stuff.
Rightly or wrongly?
Rightly or wrongly?
No, that's a question. Rightly or wrongly from your perspective?
No, rightly. I think maybe, like, for me, it's rightly, but only because of the second element as to why I think people give them a pass on this stuff, which is the context around how these things were presented. So obviously in the Xbox One stuff, you had a presentation that was really, gaming felt very ancillary to it. Games in general felt very ancillary to what they were showing at the time in those presentations. And people didn't like that. People didn't like the move away from, you know, pure gaming console to media entertainment box. So I think here it's a bit different because Nintendo are just saying, well, here is this thing and it exists, but, you know, look at all these spectacular, or for some people, spectacular games. You know, look at all, like, it's fundamentally, even more so than the other consoles, this is like a dedicated gaming console. Like, it feels like a toy, You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so I think people give Nintendo the benefit of the doubt rightly, because I think the contexts are very different in which these things have been presented compared to Xbox back in the day. But
Showing
that's
it
just
being
me.
used as a gaming platform, aren't they, rather than being some sort of weird
Yeah, it's not
entertainment
some
hybrid
weird
device.
entertainment hybrid. Look at, you know, all this
Mhm.
bollocks you don't care about. Like this is actually useful stuff for. I say useful. I'm never going to use it, but it's useful stuff for someone when they're
Mhm.
playing games. So yeah, I think that's probably the
How
main
dare
difference.
you slander that Connect? Dare you? I loved it. I was like,
Awful.
Xbox on, and it would
That
turn
was
on,
the
and
only
that's
good thing about
that was
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing about
The
Connect for
only
me
good
is
thing that
everyone
came out
has
of that was
fond
when you saw
memories. Every fond memory of the Connect is just a microphone. Everyone's favorite feature is I can talk to it. That's a
But also
$2.99
the
microphone.
best thing is when you'd be like, there were videos of people like they'd renamed themselves Xbox Off, and then they'd
Yeah.
call someone in chat to say like, "Who the fuck is Xbox Off?" And then their Call of Duty would shut down. Like
Good
that.
time.
That's
Good
the
time.
only redeeming gem from that era.
Yeah, indeed. Right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the game that Luke wants to talk about, which is Donkey Kong.
Hey.
So I'm going to let Luke talk about it.
Oh man, it just the whole trailer. When they said, you know, this is going to be the final game, my kind of mind went immediately to, okay, well, it's going to be 3D Mario.
Mhm.
And I think most people's expectation was that it was going to be 3D Mario. And then when it opened up, I was like, okay, this probably 3D Mario. It looks very 3D, you know, Odyssey coded, so it's probably that. When it gets to the bit where the kind of wall starts being bashed in, I knew it, like because I couldn't see the monkeys on the, like it was on my phone over here, and I couldn't, you know, it had it in .il, and then I couldn't see the monkeys, and then but then when the bashing came from the wall bit, I kind of leapt up from a chair, metaphorically. I didn't actually do that, but and I was just, I could not believe, because it's been so long since the 3D Donkey Kong, right? And
20 years.
there's been and there's been so many rumors over the years that have intensified as of late that they were making a 3D Donkey Kong, but I just didn't really believe that they were. Like I wasn't convinced, because Donkey Kong, they've always kind of, apart from the heyday, like it's kind of been over here as a franchise. Like they really like it and it does well, but it doesn't do as well as a lot of other stuff they do. It's not as fundamentally popular as something like Mario or even something like Zelda. So it's always been on the periphery of a lot of what Nintendo do, like more in the inner circle than Metroid is, but not where the big boys are, basically. So so for them to be doing it and to be giving it like the full 3D treatment, and it looks like, they haven't confirmed this and they're being really weird about it, but it looks like it's the Odyssey team's work. It looks like it's the same EPD team that are doing this, which is very surprising if it is, that they, you know, said to them, we want you to make a Donkey Kong game, really, you know, after the success of the 3D Mario games. But it just looks fantastic to me. I mean, it looks so just weird. Like it's like typical Nintendo weirdness, and like for them to look and go, okay, well, how, like, what's the, you know, like it's Odyssey, and the 3D Marios always have a hook. Like it's Cappy in Odyssey, and then Galaxy is just the nature of the worlds and stuff like that, and the motion controls to some extent, and then obviously you had Sunshine and like all these things, and then to go, okay, the hook with this is you can just destroy everything. Like everything can be destroyed. Everything is destructible. You can go through the ground. Yeah, like it's just so visceral and interesting and clever. And there's so many gameplay consequences that can come out of that. And I feel like they've only showed like a very small little snippet of how, you know, of that stuff. And if you watch the Tree House again, there's only like specific levels, and they don't show too much. And I think it'll be a game full of surprises, and I'm just really delighted that they're finally doing it. And even better is it just comes out like a month after the console releases. So
treated with a sort of significance as well, like being there one
kind
more thing. They could have saved Kirby for that, you know, if they wanted to. And you know.
and they've really, like, by launch, you know, they clearly want this to do well because they're launching it away from Mario Kart. They're saying, okay, like, because I think this is probably ready to go, but they're saying, you know, here you'll have your Mario Kart, and then a month later, this game will come out, and you know, so it doesn't get kind of crushed under. I mean, it would still do well at launch, but you know, I think they're trying to set it up to succeed. And I had a feeling they like this is a really weird tangent, but when I went to Universal Studios Japan, and I was like last year, and I went to the Mario bit, and it was amazing. And I went to the merch stuff, and I was just like, "Fuck Mario! I don't care about him. Like, where's the Donkey Kong stuff?" While I was there, and they had like this one tiny sliver in like any store of Donkey Kong stuff, and I was like, "Really? Is this how you're gonna? Yeah, is this how you like?
Have you not played Tropical Freeze?
Yeah, I was like, you're gonna do my boy like this? Like, what are you doing? And then I saw afterwards, obviously, that they were building a Donkey Kong section, like they're building a Donkey Kong world effectively onto Universal Studios. And I was like, okay. And it was, you know, it's opened this year. And I was like, well, maybe in my heart of hearts, you know, like when the copium sticks in, I'm like, well, maybe they're doing that because they're actually going to launch a big Donkey Kong product like later in the year. And I was right. They are. So I like really delighted for Donkey Kong, basically. I just fucking love Donkey Kong, man. It's so underrated.
Seeing you talk about Donkey Kong makes me so happy because I feel the same way. I think Nintendo are sitting on a ton of cool characters like that, right? That, like you said, they're kind of on the sidelines that they're bringing to the forefront that really deserve it. Yeah. And like you said, they could have just did a Mario, and the fact that they're putting him in the forefront is really nice. I think they're to realize that the IP strength, like they got to build other things, you know, just like they did, you know, Zelda. Zelda was, it was always big. Don't get me wrong. Don't kill me on that. Zelda, I love Zelda. Everything, but it was not Mario or Pokemon or whatever. It didn't do those numbers. And then Breath of the Wild was that big, right? It became a juggernaut after Breath of the Wild. And I hope this Donkey Kong does the same thing. I really, truly do hope the same thing.
You could argue, I think, that Metroid Prime is another one as well. That,
yes,
you know, that trilogy of games very fondly remembered, but Metroid as a IP has been largely dormant for a long time in a meaningful sense. And I think Prime 4 Beyond being that sort of treated like this sort of cross-gen significant release for them back at Retro Studios, you know, that's nice to see them mining into their IP library. It's really cool to see that it's being treated with a certain reverence, which is you've not then seen for Donkey Kong or Metroid for a long time.
Yep.
And that's definitely just as a fan of their games, it's just nice to see them revisit, and also just the ambition of it. I think the tech is really impressive. I've had a big thing about physics and destructibility in games forever. It's why Red Faction's one of my all-time favorites. It's why I love the Finals. I think the Finals is one of the best shooters, I think, of the last 10 years. Not because mechanically it's particularly original, but because of the interactivity. I don't need games to look prettier. I need games to do different things and be mechanically more complex. And this Donkey Kong Bonanza ticks those boxes. A platformer with that level of malleability is just such a cool thing. I'm going to play something on my Switch 2 I couldn't play before.
Yeah, you couldn't do this on Switch. You just could not do this game. Yeah.
No way. Shout out to Red Factions. That's so amazing. It seems like for a very long time, like you said, you'd get those destructive environments, you know, the battlefield or whatever, but they'd be super, super limiting, you know, and not with a big enough scope or level design in mind. You know, they'd just be a fun factor. Yeah,
they'd like,
exactly.
Because you'd be like, you could destroy this wall, but this wall that looks identical is indestructible. And that was always a point of frustration. Like Call of Duty, big RPG, leaves a big black circle. Always
exactly.
To me. That's nice to see them push. Like I feel like this has been something they've been doing since Breath of the Wild, since Tears of the Kingdom, where they really pushed the user-generated stuff and the physics stuff in those games.
The physics is awesome.
That was a sort of an iterative step, I think, towards this. and it just
Yeah.
shows them they could have just made Donkey Kong 64 again. They could have remade that again, and it was just nice, I think, to see them push tech. That's been my big takeaway from Switch 2 is they're pushing scale and tech in a way that like that's more exciting to me than prettier textures. Games look amazing. I don't really need them to look any more amazing. Do things mechanically or with AI, like as in AI characters, or no, don't worry, no, definitely not from me. But things like with like AI intelligence and interactivity with the world, that's the stuff I want to see as like the bigger steps. And
I just want to
Bonanza
see.
definitely represented that.
I just want to see an AI Asa. Just
You've got one. Let me help you out. I'm looking at this. I think it looks wank.
Whoa.
just for a
Acer has left
difference
the
of
chat.
opinion. Like you're talking about. I think that the word that JT used, the world is malleable. I see that. I see you making holes, but all the talk of physics, I do not see that. It is a malleable world that you can make holes in. There is no chain to the physics at all.
No. Go look at the treehouse where he
That's
takes
what I'm looking at right now.
different like dirt and he sticks it to walls to climb it. Like it's freaking amazing.
I take your word
Like
for
different
it.
materials. Well, I swear. Take your word for it. I won't defend it, but it looks crazy. Go ahead.
You can. It's just like when you look at Red Faction, it was also malleable in this way, in that you could destroy pretty much everything, and there were boundaries to the levels because you have to have boundaries, or you'll end up stuck in a pit somewhere with no way out. I look at this one, and I have to caveat, I'm not a 3D platformer fan, right? I am a fan of destroying things.
There it is.
But the stuff that you're talking about, like I'm just not seeing physics. Like I reckon you could carve out the rock, and the bit above you will float in this game.
I think
You
can I
just
not
you,
just can I
you
just
love
jump in there
destroying
really quickly?
stuff. You can. There you go.
Yeah.
You'll love this.
Yeah.
I like chaos
wasn't
though. This
referring to
isn't
physics
chaos.
here. Yeah, that no, I wasn't referring to necessarily physics in this game. I know what you're referring to there. That wasn't my point. The destructibility definitely is the push on this. I always like seeing games push the interactivity in whatever form that takes, whether it's destructible environments, physics, etc. I like seeing interactivity in games be at the forefront.
I agree, but I look at like what Battlefield is trying to do, what the finals does, right? You play the finals, you shoot at the supporting pillars of a building, and the building will fall down. This game is not that, and it's impressive in that it will remember this scope of level and the holes that you've made and the holes that you haven't, and that's fine. But I just don't know how long that'll be fun to me. Like I'll make a few holes and I'll be like, I can make holes.
What
do I
but
do
I don't think
next?
that's, it's not as if the objective is going to pop
It's
up,
destroy
make
everything.
holes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if
there's
we
a whole
get Donkey
game
Kong
based
Bonanza and the
around
game
this.
is, hey, make some holes, then I'll be like, this is wank. Asa was right.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. Like I'm saying this for C-Fresh. Like I'm looking at this, people are loving it. I'm not loving it. I'm thinking this is a game that I won't buy. I hope that I'm wrong, and it turns out it does really well for itself, and you lot that love Donkey Kong have a really good time with it. But it's not doing it for me.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I wasn't a giant Donkey Kong fan most of my life. I just like that they're giving him this spotlight and trying to do something new with him. And it does look appealing, and it does have elements that I do like. They haven't shown anything much about this game, but what they have been showing with their level design, you're like, oh, you're probably thinking when you see this, you're like, oh my god, then where's the level design? It's like, well, that's the thing. They have, like Minecraft, they have different materials and different textures. So you can't shoot mud and break a steel wall, and you can't take your fist and pound a steel wall to death. It's not going to happen. So that's how they cleverly separate the barriers with actual puzzle making, right? That's how they combine the two. So you have to take this bomb that interacts with that better and blows it up more sufficient, and then you get the puzzle element to it. It looks like just a really well done collectathon thing, and I think that's what Mario Odyssey was, and I think that this is really taking inspiration from that. So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited that it's not just another Mario Odyssey. But saying that, I definitely think having it released so close to release date, but not on release date, the tactics, like I said before, make sense. But it does give me hope that actually there is a 2D Mario being also grown up on the side, for the end of the year, maybe after GTA 6, whenever that comes out to stomp the world. Yeah, it gives me hope for that. But yeah, Donkey Kong, really solid. I'll definitely play it.
Well, I'm definitely glad that you're all into it. Demon Hunter is just, this is a mean gaming with passion that does split stream with me on Thursday. We've been playing Resident Evil 6. It's been brilliant fun. He says that Donkey Kong was the highlight of the show for him. So he's clearly wrong because Mario Kart and Metroid were in there and they look better. But you're on, like, Luke's on your side, I mean, so, and he's telling me to shut up, which I'm going to do.
Luke is usually super gentle, and he's like, "Shut up, I'll fucking kill you."
Yeah.
But it came from soul.
Draw the line.
Well, yeah.
Right there, it was like John Wick.
You touched my dog.
Yeah.
You can speak again, Asa. Go ahead.
Thank you, Luke. I don't know what we're going to talk about next. So that's Donkey Kong. There's quite a lot in the show. We'll try and do the highlights. We'll talk about the lowlights, and we'll talk about the third-party games overall as a collective kind of thing. So let's talk about Metroid Prime. That's the other most significant next game in the list, right? Metroid Prime 4. Metroid for me is a Nintendo IP that I want to love. I've not played them enough to love them, but I want to because I like Space Marines. I like Halo. I like people in space armor shooting shit, right? And Metroid fills that niche from a Nintendo kind of angle, and I'm into that. I want to give it a go. Metroid Prime 4. JT, you were talking about this as an IP and it being relatively dormant. Obviously, we had the what was it called? Dread, the one that came out, Metroidvania one.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I've just realised I hate Metroidvanias. Metroid is responsible largely for that entire genre.
It's in the name. It's in the name.
I love that was an epiphany that happened live, just there.
So it's a Metroidvania. Of course, it is a Metroid game. Oh shit, it's a Metroid game. Still, I want to fall in love with Metroid Prime. Am I going to? JT, tell me about Metroid. Tell me about this game.
So I mean, you've alluded to it there. I think that prior to Dread, it was Federation Force, that dreadful 3DS game. Then prior to that was Prime. We hadn't seen anything else from this series, certainly in a mainstream 3D sequel for a long time. They, I think, have very smartly shown the things that people loved about the original trilogy. The scanning, the logging stuff, the fact that you got the lock-on targeting, the morph ball being something dynamic. I just think this actually feels, unlike Mario Kart World and unlike Donkey Kong Bonanza, this feels like a very small iterative sequel. This feels very much in line with the Prime games, and there's been so much time between them that this is justified in their approach. I think people, what they're delivering with Beyond is exactly what people are looking for. Just an iterated Metroid Prime title. I think that's actually its big selling point, because the design of those original games and the shooting always felt so much fun. The fact that they've been able to get the performance looking so good, they've got the mouse support controls now as well.
How does that work with lock-on targeting? Does it just disable the lock-on targeting and let you aim properly? Or
from what I could see from the treehouse, I wasn't sure on that one.
No, it still locks on, but it gives you sort of the ability to move around that lock-on, move within the lock-on, basically.
Is that good?
Yeah, nice.
It's hard to describe. It doesn't look amazing because Metroid Prime's never had freeform aiming as such. But they did show some puzzles where it actually does kind of work, where you actually you could lock on directly, or if you're using mouse controls, you can kind of lock on broadly, but then adjust
adjust as you go. Yeah, I think that. So actually, I think this, to its credit, I think is delivering certainly what I would want from it, which is I wanted to have this series brought back to the fore, much like Donkey Kong was given the reverence and the importance of its placement in the showcase, and it being a 3D title rather than 2D. I think Metroid, it's been given it sort of in a really small iterative sequel, which is exactly what I wanted from that series. So good time, I think, for people to jump into it. It's a good excuse, I think, it being cross-gen as well. It's a good opportunity for people to check it out. Looks really polished. It looks ready, actually. I think in a similar vein to Bonanza, I think Prime 4 actually, given its sort of quite lengthy development, I think it's pretty much looks like they're ready to pull the trigger on it. And it's just a case of us. Do we have a date?
No, it's weird
No.
that they still haven't given a date for it other than it's this year. Because it does look
GTA,
pretty
man.
much.
It's
Maybe.
that GTA 6.
And I
gonna-
suspect.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I suspect Metroid's like more susceptible to being GTA'd because it isn't as big as of a franchise, so it can't stand alone or stand near rather GTA as much as maybe some other games can. So they're probably. I assume it's nearly ready, but it's not ready for summer. And then Nintendo have just said, okay, if it's not ready for summer, then it's ready for after summer. But after summer's GTA time, as far as we're concerned. So we need to see.
I could,
where
I could
it's
see a
coming from.
September. I could see September. For
Yeah,
this.
something like that. Yeah, yeah.
You know, to get it out ahead of where you'd expect GTA to drop, which would be like October, November time.
Yeah,
I could see them doing that for sure. I think if I think it's looking really, really polished, really responsive, and exactly what I was hoping for from that game. I didn't need a radical reinvention there. I think after 2 console generations off, I think Mario Kart World needed to be a meaningful step forward. After 20 years of no Donkey Kong, I think Bonanza needed to show a hook. Prime, I think, in this case, because it had been largely dormant, I think just needed to re-evoke that same excitement for those original trilogy of games.
Yeah,
Gamzly.
I'm gonna pick it. Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up from there. Looking at this footage, it's 4. Is this 4K? It's 4K 120 or was it 4K 60?
4K 60.
Okay. Both modes look insane. They look incredibly smooth. I can't also believe, like, I thought they were gonna do the double exclusive drop. I thought they were gonna do Metroid, like they did Zelda Breath of the Wild, and put the Mario on top, because you got your older audience that will jump into the Metroid, or maybe, well, your audience that love Metroid are a little bit older now, right? You'd kind of think. So those people would pick up a Metroid Prime, probably have some leftover money to spend. They'll get their kids the Mario Kart 9 bundle, and they'll play this. I thought that was going to be the strategy, and not seeing it there kind of bummed me out. The window of release kind of bummed me out because I'm super ready for this game. Man, it just looks like Luke said, like you guys said, it just looks really ready. It's giving me, this is the Halo of Nintendo, man. This has that potential impact, at least story and level design wise. It really does have that potential to grab people, and I can't wait till the next one. I hope this does so well that they really do push forward priority for the next Prime and really showcase what this console could do, because we know this definitely was it definitely was on the bones of the Nintendo Switch 1 versions. So I can't wait to see this full scale and see what they do here, and because I could just imagine more enemies on screen, bigger environments. Obviously we haven't seen it, but yeah, I'm super ready for this, man. Everything about Prime, there's not much to say on almost a perfect game. Like, these games were almost perfect when they came out. So I'm also ready for a sequel to a very good franchise. Nothing more to say on that. It looks incredible. I can't wait.
Does it? So I haven't followed it as closely as you, so I want to ask, how much of a difference are you perceiving between the Switch 2 version, because it's obviously this is a cross-gen game. It's available on both Switches, which gives it a special place within the presentation as a Nintendo game covering both of them in that way. How big of a step up is it?
The 4K version, like the 4K mode, is I mean, to my eyes, even my garbage 14 FPS eyes, it looks like really huge to me. But yeah, the other version, not really, but like the 4K performance, mode is crazy. I think it looks wonderful.
I think it's a step up. It is a step up, but only in terms of resolution and frame rate if you play on the performance mode. But the step up in resolution is gigantic.
Quite massive.
So I don't think they're not increasing assets or increasing asset quality or effects or anything like that. It's a true cross-gen game, but they are taking advantage of high resolution and the added performance mode as well. So if you look at side by sides, at least of the 4K mode and the default Switch mode, it's a really, really, really big difference in terms of clarity.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Switch handheld mode for Metroid Remake, was that at 720p or was that at 1080?
Yeah, it was 720. It was 720 at 60. Yeah.
So like it's just, I mean, 720 to like 1080 step up on handheld. This is going to look amazing. And then from 720 or 1080 to 4K, I mean, people are going to look. Obviously, there's a visual upgrade here. It's just that, while looking at it compressed and on a screenshot, I don't think people really appreciate it. But when they get it face to face, they're gonna like it a lot.
I'm watching the trailer at the moment. They're just showing the section where the guy is like switching between using the normal controller mode and the mouse mode. The mouse mode is quite interesting because you do have that full control of it, but it just looks like the weapons are quite generous if you're not good at aiming.
It's the lock on. It's the
lock on. Like the lock on still kind of kicks in a way, but it doesn't wrestle control of the cursor, the reticule from you, which is like it's probably a fun way to play. Might actually add to the difficulty rather than take it away. Normally you'd expect a mouse to be much easier to play with, the flick aiming and all the rest of it, but the lock on with the controller looks very like play for you kind of lock on. So interesting. Anyway, this is a game that I do want to play out of the Switch catalog, so I'll give it a go.
Good.
So
you better.
Oh yeah, or what?
Or I'm gonna. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Gonna make you punch holes in Donkey Kong.
Oh no! Okay, fine. I'll play Metroid.
If you tried to do an objective, we'll stop it.
Yeah, on stream, just punch holes while I poke you.
Right.
With my
we talked about what Nintendo were doing well for this one. Now I want to talk about one thing that looked truly awful, and that's the tour game. I can't even remember what they called it. The one that should be a free pack-in but isn't.
Are we really
tour.
Talking about this one?
The welcome tour that for some reason you have to pay money for.
How on earth is that a premium title? I mean, it looks objectively worse than the Astro's Playroom.
That's the funny thing.
And
I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, Sony understand fun better than Nintendo in this instance, because the pack-in on the PlayStation 5, Astro's Playroom, gives you a wonderful little tour of the features of the console, and was a good game that spawned, like, whatever it was called, Astro's whatever, oh, fuck. The Astrobot game that came out at the end of last year that everybody loved.
Yeah.
So
Astrobot.
It's like, was it just called Astrobot?
Astrobot?
Why is this so difficult?
Playroom. Wasn't it Playroom?
No, Playroom
was the...
who cares,
But like the difference when you look at this tour and they're like, oh, here's me in the world, and then they show it and it's like, oh fuck, this is awful. Oh fuck, you can read about the haptics of the controller.
Someone worked out, by the way, that they found the yen pricing that I think it's going to be $9.99.
Yeah, it's not. It's
okay,
not
so they're not charging a lot.
No, but any money for this.
I'm definitely not buying
We spent an hour on value. No, you don't charge money for this thing.
Who would have thought you'd be comparing Nintendo to Sony and going, you know what? Sony are giving us good value there.
I know. It's unbelievable.
It's just,
I don't think this deserves any more airtime.
It's just it's that most direct comparison. It has to be Astro's Playroom because it's a free pack-in that shows you the features of the system, and it's like a celebration, and it's so much more fun. Yeah. And Nintendo, this is coming afterwards. You can look at the standard and go, "Oh, I need to try and hit that."
True. Yeah.
And they've got
Sports was like Wii Sports was like the greatest demo title.
Hang on, we're forgetting the greatest one of all, Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do.
I remember their last E3 presentation, which their one more thing was, and now fireworks in Nintendo Land. And it's one of the most arc of like excitement to underwhelming that I've ever experienced in my life.
Tamagotchi Land or whatever the fuck this one was. Oh, is it?
Yeah. Nonsense. Actual
Good,
nonsense.
right.
There's
That's
an
enough
audience
of the
too.
tour. Some people will get it. Maybe
Let's
there's
move
something
on.
in there that's better
I-
than it
I'm
looks.
gonna
but-
get it, and I'll tell you how it is.
You have to stream it, please.
I'll stream
Desperately.
it. I'll stream it.
Please. I'd like to just offset that utter drivel with something that just warmed my soul. Was the GameCube Classics library
Oh,
being
fuck
added
yeah,
finally.
dude.
Yeah,
GameCube's
that's
my
good.
favorite Nintendo console. I know it sold dreadfully, and I know it was their weird era, but I have such a soft spot for that platform and those games. To note, because I do feel like at the moment it's countdown to when my GameCube just evaporates. I know there's various companies now that do like the retro repairs and they sort of replace the like-for-like components and all that stuff. But I just know that there is a finite shelf life to my original hardware, and to see that obviously they've pushed, I think for the first time, sort of the account migration. You know, it's the same account. You've got your library waiting for you, and them including GameCube games finally in the Switch Online library for. From what I understand, no additional cost either. It's part of the expansion pack existing pricing. Well, we've seen Xbox and PlayStation both put up their pricing. I'm expecting a small price increase next year from Nintendo, where that offer for the game chat thing is free till March 31st. I'm expecting that to maybe be the point where they might put it up a couple of quid. But to know that day one for no additional cost, as part of my sub, I'm getting those 3 GameCube games, and obviously a slowly drip-fed increased library like the N64 and SNES one. I was so excited when that GameCube logo popped up. I was so happy.
That's funny because we had a conversation in Discord before where you said like the thing that you wanted from the Switch 2 reveal was these GameCube games, and I said
just
there
give it to me
like
day one.
I want GameCube games, but I don't see this as being the event to announce it because they're GameCube games. But they did.
No, it's exactly the right time to announce
what
it.
you wanted.
Because they're GameCube games, because they matter. And I was so happy.
They do. They matter a lot. It's like you're right. It was their goofiest era, but it was their most
Weird.
it was their most
Experimental and-
joyful. Yeah, it was
Yes.
like, oh my
Well,
god,
look,
the
dude-
Star Fox game and the those things were
insane.
amazing.
Yeah, they have a carry handle on the back of it, right?
Yeah,
I
I
have my
know.
old
The
my
best.
old case. I had a GameCube, like a long, it's about this
Yeah.
big, sort of a long, thin case that had the hole cut out at the top where the GameCube's carry handle would poke out.
It was
And it was just like
absolutely
I was just
genius.
off to my mate's house with my GameCube,
Yeah.
and it was just like I was just joyous and silly, and it's the era of Nintendo that I have such fondness for. And to know that it's going to be a news item. It's going to be something that comes up again and again, where we get the next editions. I know there was that carousel of a few games. It was nice to see that Mario Sunshine is now freed from the prison of the All Stars collection that was delisted. They now that's going to eventually be in there. Pokemon Colosseum was in that rotation as well
Hell
as well
yeah,
as Luigi's
dude.
Mansion, and I was like, just fuck yeah, just win. For me. I
Have
was so
they? I'm seeing this, and I'm assuming the answer is like no. But have they said that this is not available on the first Switch? Is this Switch 2 only?
correct. Switch 2 only.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah,
mean.
Switch 2 only.
I would guess like the emulation is just too tough. I guess at this point for the whatever the hell
And the
Switch
GameCube
is.
controller's got the C button
Yeah.
on it as well,
Yeah,
so they've kind of said
yeah,
that
exactly.
it only works on there.
Yeah.
F-Zero having online multiplayer, my brain just, I was so happy
They'll
to be able
split screen,
to be able to
though.
play that with friends. No, online. You play online. You could, yeah. I know you are in split screen, but I couldn't care less. Like, let me play that online. I'm so excited.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah, that was one of the big highlights for me from the entire thing. I'm just so happy to see that made real.
It's so funny to see that because my up and down reactions, like I had up and down reactions. I saw it because I was like, oh my god, Mario Strikers. Like the pan of all the games coming out. I'm like, oh my god, the Mario Strikers, Coliseum, Pokemon. I'm like, oh shit. And then I'm like, Wind Waker? And I had like this huge spike of excitement, and I'm like, when the hell are we gonna get the remaster? Or like the remake?
Dude, like what?
And then another up and down moment was Fire Emblem. Oh my god, I saw that Fire Emblem like gave me shivers. I'm like, yes. Like
Dude,
I freaking love
the one
it.
I really want is Eternal Darkness.
Oh,
Give me
yes.
Eternal
Yeah.
Darkness, please.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's going to be tied up in some weird rights issues.
Probably.
I want to say that was Free Radical. Was that Free Radical? Which is the Crytek team that no longer exists. Quick live fact check may be needed there. I I think it's Free Radical, unless I'm conflating them with another developer. But yeah, that was just that. Yeah,
it's Silicon Knights.
Silicon. Thank you. Sorry, I have conflated them. Thank you for the fact check on that. That was important. I don't want that on the internet forever. But yeah, it was just the possibilities of what that collection is going to be. Just was so exciting. So I'm just I was thrilled to see that.
I'm thrilled to see that you're thrilled, JT. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Let's do one more game that we'll cover in full, and then we'll do a little like third party thing. This one is a third party one though, but it's one that caught some attention because it's from Luke.
Yeah.
DUSKBLOOD or whatever it's called. Is it called DUSKBLOOD? Yeah, it's called the DUSKBLOODS. What do you reckon?
The DUSKBLOODS. I was really, really hyped for this because it came on, and I think when the female VO started talking, I was like, is this From? Because it sounds a lot like From. And I was like, well, surely not, because like we're not ready for another From game announcement. And then obviously it got into the world and stuff, and I was like, okay, this is definitely From. And I think like everyone, like you see bits of it and you're like, okay, why is Bloodborne suddenly on Nintendo? Like, why are they doing like Bloodborne related stuff? And it's not, it's kind of a mashup. And I was super excited for this, but then it was quite deflated by the fact that it's a multiplayer game.
The stuff you learn afterwards,
yeah, the stuff I learned afterwards. So that's not to say I won't play this, because actually there's a lot of scope still for good PvE games, which is what this is. And there's something that's very intoxicating, irrespective of whether it's multiplayer or not, in being in a From created world, particularly one like this, which kind of has this mash of like eldritchy Victorian environments, and then suddenly machine guns and trains and vampires and stuff. So like a lot of that looked really cool. So I am very excited for it, and I do think it's a big get for Nintendo to get an exclusive From game, even if it's not, a big single player From game. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. It looks really cool, certainly aesthetically, which I mean you expect From's games to look really cool, and this one does. Yeah, optimistic.
Optimistic, good. What about you, Gamzly?
Oh my god, my emotions went up and down a lot too. I was like, oh my god. Kind of like Luke, I'm like, this looks it definitely sounds and looks like a From game. Like immediately, you're like, this looks like a From game. I thought, oh, is this like a weird Elden Ring side quest thing? Is this what we're doing? Because we heard that Elden Ring was going to be here, which it was, which is and then it quickly shifted to, is this a Castlevania? I was like, if this is a Castlevania, this would be shockingly amazing. And then it went to Bloodborne. Like, it had like this weird, because everybody wants.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy would a From Software like Castlevania be? Like, it's like a dream to me, anyway. And then when it went to the hunter, or the hunter-looking guy, I was like, this is definitely Bloodborne. And then they showed it off, and it was a new IP. It looked fantastic. It looked fluid. It looked like it was working well. And it's by, what's his name? My God, I'm blanking on the name. The actual
Miyazaki.
lead design. Miyazaki. It's actually from him. He's doing the directing on it. So that's huge. That's huge news in an era that we're also not really trained to think about exclusives that much as a whole, because it's a weird environment right now. To see that locked onto a Switch 2 really shows what I was talking about before, that their audience, they want to keep their audience that has grown with them into this new world they're owning. And I think the aesthetic of the Switch 2 also says that. It's not so flashy anymore. It's more adult in theme. So yeah, them having these mature games like Cyberpunk and all of that stuff on this system now, it's nice to see, and it's nice to see run pretty well. I was really excited. I'm excited to play this with my brothers and my nephew.
There, JT?
So I don't particularly have a history with any of the sort of Soulsborne games or any of the From stuff. I played a little bit of Bloodborne, it just wasn't for me, and hadn't played sort of Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring, etc. When Elden Ring, when they showed that Night Rain, that multiplayer spin-off, that definitely piqued my interest. I think my way into these games is going to be co-op. I think so. Actually, them confirming that DUSKBLOODS is going to be a multiplayer title for me actually was a little bit more enticing because I don't have the investment in the worlds themselves from a single player standpoint. So it was actually really cool to see them go that way, and a nice get for Nintendo to secure a From exclusive at a time when that developer is kind of on top of the world right now. So I think it surprised a lot of people that it was exclusive, and whether that's a timed exclusive or going to be something that's a genuine platform exclusive for them going forward in perpetuity, we'll see. But I found myself actually quite intrigued by it because I wasn't clear on it being multiplayer from the trailer. I don't know if that, maybe I was just being thick, but I didn't pick up on that immediately. Yeah, so that wasn't something I just missed for the sake of being stupid. But yeah, it was really, really enticing actually, that world design and the fact that it's exclusive and multiplayer piqued my interest for sure.
Good. No, that was a weird one because, like I said to Luke, like he watched it and he was interested, and the stuff that he found out after the fact might have diminished that somewhat, but not necessarily entirely. It's still From game, so it's default interesting to a lot of people. What I was going to do was start talking about or asking you for picks and choices from the rest of the games that are on there, but conscious of the fact that time actually does keep moving. It keeps on moving. I can't stop it. I'm going to do more of a quick roundup on the Switch 2. So the games we've seen, we've talked about them. The power we've seen, we talked about it. The specs and all of that lot. The prices of the console, the prices of the games, we've seen all of that. This console's coming out. It's got a lot of positivity around it. A lot of people are interested in it. For sure, the launch is going to go smoothly. But relative to, or contrasting it against the original Switch didn't have the same kind of competition. Like, the market has changed. There are more options for people that like portable gaming and all the rest of it now. It did have a global pandemic and Animal Crossing and all the rest of it. Nintendo are, I would say, from what we've seen in the presentation and from what we've seen of their pricing, I would say that they're pretty confident that this thing is going to do well. But, like, prediction time, is this thing going to do well over its lifespan? How are we seeing it? Are we confident that Nintendo are going to be like a serious player for the next 10 years? Or what do you reckon, Gamzly?
Yeah, they're going to be, I think, out of the console manufacturers, I think they have just a sheer amount of IP that can pick up their mistakes. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it with the start of the 3DS with the pricing that really got them. We saw it with the Wii U. We saw it with the GameCube. It's just they have an enormous amount of nostalgic IP that they just could leverage, and if they get the price right or whatever, they're definitely going to stay around. I think they're going to be the last console or hybrid console left standing, in my honest opinion, to not adopt the third-party moniker, the third-party kind of idea. They're going to hold out as long as possible, and I think they're going to be successful for a very long time on it. When it comes to the Switch 2, like I said, I predict the 3DS thing. I think it starts out the gate pretty okay, and then it has a pretty slow, a pretty heavy decline a few months after. When they restock, they might not see the numbers that they thought they were going to see, and I think that's going to prompt a price cut. And if the tariffs hit and that thing is $750, you're definitely going to see. The U.S. market was huge on this, so you're definitely going to see a price cut in a lot of markets. But it's going to put Japan on fire, I'm telling you right now. Luke has seen the Nintendo stuff in there. Like, there's a lot of lineups just for the Nintendo store almost every.
And they actually get a cheap one, right?
Japan is, yeah, exactly. Their pricing is cheaper there too. So they're gonna blast Japan. They're gonna get a huge lead on Japan for sure. But it's not enough to lift them all the way across the world, in my opinion. So steady decline and a price cut later, and then success from there. Therefore,
Yeah, what do you reckon, Luke?
Yeah, I think I largely agree actually with Gamzly. I think it will do over the course of its life. I expect it will do extremely well. Whether it will do as well as Switch remains to be seen, but I don't think we'll look back on Switch 2 and say, well, that wasn't a successful console. I think it will do very, very well. In the near term, I don't know how it will perform after, say, a couple of months after launch, because on launch I expect it will be very popular. It will sell a lot of units. And the only reason I say that is because it's launching into a very unpredictable economic environment.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what the impact of tariffs will be on it, if they'll even stick around that long, and if they do, what that will do to consumer spending. Will likely depress it pretty heavily, at least for the US market, and maybe to some extent globally as well. So I think it's not as foreseeable as it was maybe 6 months ago. 6 months ago, if you'd have asked me that question, I said, the only thing that would stop it doing gangbusters is stock, basically. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think there are other things that will stop it doing gangbusters. I don't actually think, and I know people talk about the game price and stuff like that, I don't think that will be that detrimental to it, or I don't think it would have been that detrimental to it had all this other stuff not come about as well. So that those things change the calculus a lot as to how well it will do kind of between, say, after, 2 months and then till the end of the year. I still think it will do very well in that time, though. And I think there's enough there that people will want to go and buy it. And obviously a lot of families will drive the purchase of it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a wait and see for the short term, I think.
Yeah, what do you reckon, JT?
I think it's wading into you alluded to it as well with the sort of state of the economy right now, but I think it's wading into a market with a lot more potential competition in years to come. We've seen Xbox's intent with exploring a handheld. PlayStation now, Portal was their first step, and potentially them doing something else with another dedicated device. Steam Deck isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's only way but up. But so it's got a lot more competition specifically in the handheld space than it ever did prior. So while I don't think it will sell as well as the first Switch by the end of its life cycle, we're talking about the difference between like 120 million and 90 million. It's going to have a barnstorming success by the time this generation wraps up, whatever the generation even looks like right now. But it's definitely wading into a space that has a lot more direct competition. If anything, actually, weirdly, I think the Steam Deck is directly opposed to it. Very similar specs and obviously, but very different offerings in terms of library access. So I do think they've made some very smart decisions from a technology standpoint. The push on their first party, we've seen the benefit with Switch 1, which is they're not splitting their development teams between handheld and a home console and having to support those two things separately. The unifying those teams under one platform has made a huge difference to the consistency of their output in terms of release timing. I think that will really help as well. It's going to, as Nintendo stuff typically does, it's going to do really well. But it is certainly wading into a more competitive landscape than they have done prior.
It is, and like just seeing the uncertainty play out in the States, it's been pretty wild, actually. I've never seen anything like that before, where Nintendo had this big song and dance, announced their console, showed the pre-order date, showed the price, all the rest of it, and then when hang about, we're not sure. We need to see what happens next, because this is a little bit wild. And then, Gamzly's sitting there not knowing if he's going to be buying it as a Canadian or an American by the time it comes out, and all of that kind of stuff going on, But abruptly moving on from there.
I might be wearing an American MAGA hat by next week. Trying to survive.
Yeah, blend in. Moving on from there, though, this is really unprofessional, but I put it in the YouTube subject line, so I just want to really quickly ask before we go on to the questions and round off the show, because it's been a slightly longer one, which was inevitable when there's so much going on. But Luke, South of Midnight has come out. So getting off of Nintendo now, we'll leave the Switch behind us for a bit. South of Midnight has come out. It's reviewed reasonably well. Are you playing it? What are you thinking of it? How's it making you feel?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a linear action adventure game. I really, really, really like those, and they're very useful games for me to have because they don't require massive time sink, and they're not daunting. So that's very nice. Two, because I've been looking forward to it anyway, because I just love the art style and the setting and the music. Reading the reviews is really interesting because one of the things it's been heavily praised for, above all that, is actually the story, which is great to me because I'm pretty story driven with most of my games. So like if something has a good narrative, that is a primary driver of me wanting to play that game. So I'm looking forward. I've got it preloaded. I'll play it on PC. I'm looking forward to it. And it looks like it's reviewed well. I mean, I didn't expect, I don't think anybody expected like a compulsion game to hit like the heady, high 80s, low 90s hype or anything like that in terms of a review, because they just they've never done that, and they've never kind of got close to that. This has got a lot closer than their other games. So they've pushed that up, and I think the moment this game was revealed and they showed gameplay, I don't know about anybody else, but I wasn't expecting it to pull up any trees in terms of how it plays. It just looks like it'll be a very competent action adventure game with platforming. Nothing particularly special about that element of it, but the specialness of the game is everything else. So and I think a game, like for me, a game could be a 10 out of 10 if it delivered like an outstanding narrative, like the 1000X Resist, right? That's a 10 out of 10 game to me, even though gameplay is like almost ancillary to that game. It's like such a little part of it. It's because the narrative is so spectacular. I think it's an incredible game. So I'm really looking forward to playing it. I just think it looks really cool.
Can I say one thing on it, Asa?
You can say quick. Up to 3 things on it.
Okay, because we have like 7 questions. In the midst of all this, economic stuff and big, large scale games trying to drag your attention away, like Luke said, I'm really looking for the smaller, compact, old school action adventure, and it always looked like Kenna to me, and I freaking adored Kenna. Kenna was the one thing, it's just such a humble little package and a nostalgia punch to that era, and it's getting and this game seems to be getting knocked on that, and I think it deserves a little bit more. It looks phenomenal, and I can't wait. Like, it gives me that Adamfall vibe. Adamfall is a big it's a medium game that presents itself as really big in its story, but it's very compact, and you could get through it in 10 to 12 hours if you just beeline. And I think with less time on our hands now, as we get older, I value that, and I can't wait to pick this game up. It looks great. The music looks great. The art looks great. And it seems to me like another Hellblade 2 kind of experience. Sit down, play it, move on to the next, and it's lovely.
Fair, JT.
So this is my most anticipated game of the year. I've been looking forward to this so much.
Donkey Kong, though, isn't
it? Yeah. So how dare you? I want to just really quickly just echo the sentiment of what you both said there, because first of all, really nice to hear that a lot of your compasses point in terms of your interest in certain titles, like achievable games that are narrative focused. That's absolutely me, or 100% all over. And from the moment this was announced, seeing the character design and the vibes they were shooting for in terms of the music and the style of the game, it feels very much, actually, I think the closest thing I can compare it to is actually the Beyond Good and Evil, where, mechanically it's not a particularly complicated game, but it has just this world that you want to be in, characters that you instantly connect with. And that, Beyond Good and Evil is my favorite game of all time. So for me, seeing what this represented, and I love. I'm a sucker for an underdog story. Seeing Compulsion go from Contrast to We Happy Few to this, seeing them iterate and grow as a team now under Microsoft. They're just, what a great success in amongst a sea of studio closures and layoffs and cutbacks and poor management and publishers doing stupid things. This just feels like a sort of cutting through that noise and that negativity, and I cannot wait to dive in. This is going to be one that my wife and I play through together. A nice tight 15-hour experience that is just ticking every box for me, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, like for me, in the run up to it, I've said more than once that the gameplay was fairly underwhelming to me, and I was a bit concerned about the fate of this game. So from what I've seen of the concerned is the wrong word, but I didn't have high expectations for it. What I've seen of the reviews and things, though, it does sound like it has nailed the story. It is endearing as a game, and that was so important when the gameplay, it sounds like, is
functional,
pretty much summed up by what we saw in the trailers, what we saw in the previews. That was what the game is, but it has landed the things that it needs to do in those circumstances. Like, it has delivered on the things that are effectively its strengths. So I'm actually, I love the fact that it's a game that is consumable. I can play through it and be done with it. Like everybody else has said, it's tough being a grown-up. It's hard to find time to get through games. That's why my backlog is so big, and I haven't started Dragon Age yet, or Pillars of Eternity, or fucking Shining the Holy Ark yet, right? And that's like 25 years old. So I'm glad that this is a game that is going to deliver, going to tug the heartstrings a bit, going to like be a little emotional roller coaster without particularly complicated gameplay. I'm all for it. And obviously
100%.
Game Pass, right? So it's not difficult to make that decision to give it a go. So I'll be doing that.
Well,
it's not
also,
$80.
Also, it's not.
Go on.
It's not full price, isn't it? $39.
If you buy it, yeah.
It's $39.99. Yeah, it's a crazy good value. I mean, they're I think Xbox allows a little bit more flexibility with their pricing right now, and I like that about them. And this is well priced. I hope it does well when it comes to other platforms and releases on Steam.
Yeah, I'm rooting for these guys. I want these guys to have the win and be sustainable as a studio. And it's almost like I'm torn given my expectations for this. That would I want a sequel from Compulsion, or do I want to see them then spread their wings even further with another new IP? That the path ahead is just a really exciting one for that team, and I just can't wait to see this thing come together.
Good. Flexible pricing is the way. Everybody should be doing it, especially when you can free yourself from the constraints of the physical delivery. Right, let's go on to, as we do every week, we finish up the show with the questions that we've received while the show's been running, and we've got a few to get. So let's crack on. We've got Stephen Southwick with the first one. It says, Gamzly has said he believes that the Switch 2 has a massive 0.01% chance of being a flop like the Wii U. Does anybody else here share his pessimism? It's not going to flop like the Wii U, is it? Does anyone reckon that this is going to be a disaster for Nintendo?
Nope.
0.01% chance. No from JT. Gamzly's obviously the one that put forward his opinion in the first place.
Okay, listen. No. Listen, if you told me like I said before the event, okay, before they showed everything and showed the pricing and the tariff thing and all that stuff. Before all that, if you asked me, that was there's no other mindset you could possibly have, right? Like, how do you validate that it's going to flop like the Wii? So, of course, I was very bullish on that. And now look at it at this moment. Maybe there could be some sort of big thing to stop them here, but not as big as the Wii U. God, I hope not.
Luke, 0.01% chance of failure. Would you go higher or lower?
I'll probably go higher, but not very much. I genuinely wouldn't. Not to have a disaster like the Wii U, like, because that was a really, really big flop.
14 million.
Yeah. So like even if it didn't do as well as the Switch, it's still going to do really well. Like, it's still going to be a successful console. So,
14 million just in Japan.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So like it will be fine. They'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry for Nintendo. They'll be all right.
Good, and if they're not, I won't shed a tear anyway because I am an arse. Right, next question is from FTW. Has anyone played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? And those that have, how far are you through it, or have you beaten it? So I'm going to start with Luke because I know that you started it before you got pulled away by Avowed and all the rest of it. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, have you gone back to it?
Not yet. It's on the back burner because I want to commit more time to it, and I realize that's really like not a good idea because the more I think about it, it's been pushed on the back burner so much that now it's gonna, by the time I'm finished with like Avowed and other stuff, then Expedition 33 is gonna be out, and then Doom's gonna be out, and then South of Midnight's around the corner, and then the Switch is coming out, and then Death Stranding 2 is coming. So like I don't know when I'm gonna get to it again, but I have played about 17 hours of it, and I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I really do want to go back, but I don't know why it's just become more daunting because more games have come out, because I was really into it and that's all I was playing, but I need to go back to it. It's a great game though. It's a great game.
So FCW ask again in 2 years and you'll probably get Luke having forgotten what it is.
Yeah, I'll be like, what?
Gamzly, you played it? Plan to play it?
I have it. I played about 8 hours, I think, because my whole thing was like Luke. I wanted to get Avowed done with. I saw all these smaller games come out that I think that I could knock out, and my Game Pass brain told right. My Game Pass was, hey, you're up in a month. Play as much games as possible and finish them. I'm like, oh, Avowed. I gave the list of games. I just got captured by them and actually finished them. So it just took me away from that game. That game is probably a game of the decade, like Baldur's Gate. Probably one of the best games that will come out in the next freaking 5 years. But it's always going to be there, and I think I'll just wait until it grabs me again.
Gamzly, you've grown a beard. JT, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
What the fuck, you suck.
3 hours in. No, I haven't played it. It's on my forever backlog along with the Avowed and Indie. Haven't played those yet either, which they're burning a hole in my heart because I desperately want to get to them. My co-host Mike from Birdie Bird Media is smashing his way through Kingdom Come Deliverance, and he has said it's a blast. So I'm eagerly anticipating that. Maybe a summer drought, but then the Switch is launching in June, so help. But yes, it's on the list for sure to get to.
Good. Look at it. It's so full. Yeah, I've not played it yet. I would like to play it. I'm not sure when I'll get around to it. I'd like to play the first one before I do. So there's your answer for that. But next is the big question from Tom. He's back with us. He's back and he's asked his question. Evening, chaps. Hope you're all well. So what's not to like this week, Luke?
Tariffs. Tariffs.
Controversial, getting all political. How are the tariffs in Jersey? Are you on the list?
We're not on the list. I was pleasantly surprised. Kind of should be on the list, but nobody tell Trump. It just counts as the UK basically. So, but yeah, no, we're not on the list. But yeah, they suck ass. Yeah, them. What else really? That's been all consuming. Yeah, maybe that. No, Ace is good. He's not a tariff.
Oh, that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Gamzly, what's not to like?
I actually saw that the tariffs are, like Luke said, they're actually having a huge impact on board games. I'm super sad that there's like a crash of board games right now. Like the board game sphere is having a huge gaming crash, let's say. I'm sad about that because I want board games to prosper. I'm of the board game era stuff. I love my, I don't know, my Wingspan and my, Catan board games. So, I hope they bounce back.
Yeah, fair enough. You got anything else? That's what you don't like this week. Fair enough. JT, what's not to like?
I don't like tariffs. This is all really, really redundant, and politically, I think it's going to create a unstoppable shitstorm, which is incredibly boring for a lot of people, and it's going to affect everyone because of the mindless machinations of a maniac. But the main thing for me, actually, I think that to not like this week would be some of the sort of, I find sort of slightly redundant discourse around console capabilities and power. Not the interesting stuff we've dug into, but people sort of like taking like screenshots of Cyberpunk from PS5 and putting them next to Switch, and then going, but look that they're not showing this slight fold and crease in that waitress's apron. That shit, I just have I have such little patience for. So yeah, that's what's not to like this week.
Fair. For me, it kind of ties into that is social media, which I've probably said as my answer before. Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, fucking all of it. Despair for humanity when you spend any time on those things. So social media is not to like for me. Oh, Luke's got
I've got another one. It was your views on Donkey Kong.
Hey now.
Oh yeah, that was heinous, dude.
Yeah,
fuck
that was-
that.
Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
No, I've got another one. The misrepresentation of me off air. That's disgraceful.
No, it was valid. It was valid.
It wasn't.
Totally valid.
Wiping the tears. Sorry, yeah, it was. We had a hard time. Let's have the next one. It's already there. It says it's FTW. Will the panel endorse me breaking into random GameStops and stealing nothing but Nintendo games and then keeping one for me and selling the rest on eBay, or making a black market FTW store? FTW, personally, I will not. I'm sorry. I like your idea and I understand where you're coming from.
Happened already.
Well, maybe. JT.
I think he's asking for forgiveness rather than permission.
He may well be. $80 Mario Kart. Should FTW break into a GameStop and steal it?
Sure, pal. Take a risk. Roll the dice. Let us know. Make sure you film it. Great content. Like and subscribe.
Hey, Gamzly.
I agree. Roll a D20 and see what happens. Like,
No risk yourselves. You don't care about anybody else, do you? You too. What about you, Luke?
I am a solicitor of the Court of England and Wales, so I don't think I can endorse.
You can.
That sort of behaviour. Having said that, he's in a different jurisdiction, so actually, it's fair game, probably, isn't it? So yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Well, there we go. There we go. I'm the only one on your side.
Appreciate how flippant the law is in terms of our interpretation of it. Well, it's not in our country, so fuck it. Go steal it.
Yeah. What you want to do in a different jurisdiction?
No responsibility for your actions. You do what you want. CO2 Tony has asked, theatres are dying because the masses are not paying premium for an experience. You think that the masses won't do the same for Nintendo premium experience? It's entertainment, not groceries. There's a question in there somewhere. I think he wants a yes or no answer. I think he's asking, will people pay money for Nintendo stuff? Yes or no, JT?
Yes, they will. Yeah, the console cost isn't that much bigger than the previous Switch. In relative terms, it's not that big of a step up. The accessories and game pricing is, but yeah, I think people will. People will go, they'll pay for quality, and Nintendo offers that. So.
Yeah, and it's so, from Tony's analogy, though, obviously, cinema and theatres are competing against other distribution methods of the same content, right? So it's an experience. You go to the cinema, and the reason that it's flopping is people don't want to go out when they can watch these things at home, which doesn't play out in Nintendo world in the same way. But Gamzly, same question to you. Nintendo, are people going to be willing to pay for this premium experience or not?
Yes, because you can only get their premium experience on that machine, so they will do. As long as those IPs be good and we continue to shovel them off to our kids and stuff, whether it's baby's first RPG or it's Mario, it'll have success somewhere.
Yeah,
and Luke?
Yeah, no, people will. Up to a point, but people will. People love Nintendo, so they will.
Yeah, obviously, like, it goes without saying that the higher the price is, the less people will buy in, because that's a fairly simple graph to chart, but plenty of people will play it, I think. Right. Dodge has not really asked a question. He's telling me to play Death Stranding. No more excuses. Dodge, I've never made an excuse. I'm going to play it. Mate, okay, I always make an excuse. It's hard to find the time. That's definitely an excuse. You were right. I apologize.
Will it redirect some heat off of you if I admit that I've never played Death Stranding?
It will, but I was enjoying the heat. So now we've fallen out. No, we haven't. That's all good. You have to play it too, JT.
I'll be your bounce.
Yeah, I'll get, honestly, so Dodge gifted me that like 2 years ago. I do need to get onto it, and I will, before I play Death Stranding 2. Which is not to say before Death Stranding 2 comes out, just before I play Death Stranding 2. I'll get there. I'll get there.
I don't like you. I hate you. Anyway, I hate you.
He's talking to you, JT.
Moving on.
Stephen Southwick has asked, do you think that Sony may put
No, I'm gonna bounce that back at you.
Do you think that Sony may put older PlayStation titles like Horizon and Uncharted on Switch 2? Do you think so? It's an interesting question because Sony have put the Horizon Lego game on Switch 2. They obviously don't see it as adversarially as they see Xbox. Do you think that they might put some of their back catalogue over onto Switch 2? Guess what,
Nope.
JT? Nope. Gamzly.
Nope.
Oh my goodness. Back catalog. Well, they already are, right? I mean, the golf game and all those stuff. They are putting their games in some extent, right? But I guess that doesn't count. If you're talking about mainline stuff like God of War and Uncharted, that I doubt it. I think Sony knows the threat of Nintendo still, and they know the threat of Xbox. They're not going to play nice as possible.
Luke?
Yeah, no. I would be pretty shocked if like the tentpole stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I'd be surprised if we don't see like a Sony presence on the Switch there, particularly if it blows up in Japan in the way that we've been talking about there. But not tentpoles, not necessarily. Like going back to the back catalogue and porting things over, it kind of sounds like a sensible idea. It's not a bad question, Stephen. Not a bad question.
They're doing Patapon, aren't they? As an example.
Yeah. Yes, and the golf game, Everybody's Golf.
Everybody's Golf, yeah. I think Everybody's Golf might be published by
Bandai, I think. Yeah.
Bandai, yeah. And I think Patapon is maybe published by Sony, or it might be a Bandai situation again. But
they still
Sony
have
some involvement in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like stuff like that, like the smaller, more obscure franchise stuff, yeah, like they'll fill the boots with that because that's easy. Big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think one last thing on that, Stefan, that I think Sony understands the threat that is like the shrinking console market, and Nintendo, no matter how we look at them, or Xbox, no matter how we look at them, third party or not, they still pose a threat to that ecosystem. You know, they have a huge base in Japan and across the world. And especially when cloud gaming starts to evolve, it's like, what's stopping people from, I don't know, long-term playing these high-fidelity games, which, you know, or an Xbox Cloud or something. It's a value proposition that Switch is future-proof with, like NVIDIA Cloud streaming, stuff like that. One day might evolve. So PlayStation really wants a reason for people to still have that thing under their TV or in their hand.
I'm going to go with never say never, though. It's a long generation, and obviously the market is shifting around and changing a bit, so who knows what we'll end up seeing. But good question, Stephen. Good food for thought. And that was the last of our questions for this week, which means we can move swiftly on. Either you can close the question box and go to sleep. That is absolutely fine. Thank you for that. We're going to move swiftly on to a little bit of an outro, and we're going to start with Luke, because Luke knows the deal. He's been doing this for... how long have we been doing it, Luke? I don't know. A while. But yeah, say what you want to say to people.
Thank you for having me as usual. Pleasure being on with JT and Gamzly. I've really enjoyed that, particularly the Donkey Kong segment. That was very important to me. And yeah, people know my social stuff, but you know, join the Discord. That's a good one. The Discord's cool, so join that. And we have
and the Discord is important messaging. I totally missed. Sorry, Isla, I'm a terrible host. She yelled earlier, "Nerds assemble." I'm not sure what we were talking about at the point that came through, but it's a 21-month membership chat, which I'm a little bit nervous about. I can't remember if I did anything for a kind of 2-year anniversary because I didn't think anyone would stick around that long. I'm going to need to think about that. But thank you, Isla, always. Yeah, that's a thing. So, JT, pleasure to have you on again. You are welcome to come on whenever. I know you've got your other stuff that you're doing on a Saturday. Whenever that's not happening, if you want to jump on and talk to us, you're very welcome. So just say so. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking all of the Nintendo jolliness, to borrow your phrasing, and say to people what you want to say and what you're up to with Burly Bird Media.
Well, yeah, so just straight off the bat, just want to say I so appreciate being a part of this community. It's been, as always, every time I've appeared on anything that you're hosting and being run here at Arcadia, I have a blast. And Gamzly, Luke, Asa, just a treat this evening. This has been such fun. So thank you again for having me. You can find us on all of the various things at Burly Bird Media. We have our live podcast, which goes up every single Wednesday. We stream that on Twitch. And we typically on a Saturday would also do our Burly Bird Live, our gaming stream. We've also got a whole variety of different podcasts that we release on a rotation every single Monday. We just recently interviewed John Billingsley from Star Trek Enterprise, Dr. Phlox, one of my favourite actors, so that just went up a few days ago. And we've got a really fun interview actually that we're shooting and it's going to be released at the end of April with the CEO of Indieformer, a really cool little newsletter that's all about indie games and discoverability. So we've got some really cool stuff that we're doing, and we also have our Discord as well. Anyone from the Arcadia community, it'll be a wide open door to anyone that wants to jump in. And yeah, thank you again for having me.
Look how nice and polite he pretends to be. We're onto you. We see through it. We know the truth. It's all out there now.
Now it is an act.
but for real, JC's content is really pleasant, good stuff. So if you are able to go and check some of it out, then do so, be it the gaming stuff or the many other things that he's got going on over there. He's a good guy. So thank you, JT, as always. And you're not an arsehole behind the scenes. It was just a bit we were playing. Gamzly.
Yes.
That went well, right? Your dramatic return. I've had a nice time. I think we had good conversations. You didn't mention Brotato very much.
I was about to until you spoiled the fuck out of it, and my joke about JT being horrible and so nice up front on the outro. Anyway,
get your own thoughts, damn you.
Yeah. Shout out to JT and Luke for having this nice conversation, and obviously chat and the gaming Arcadia people. I love you guys, and it's been a wild ride in the Discord chats and all that stuff and online, but this was pleasant. This was nice. It's always a nice time. Asa, thank you for having me on, and I love you guys. And I do have other things coming, but I don't want to announce anything yet. I'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. I'm going to quickly shout out episode 13 as well. 14-month membership chats. Quick, let me get in my 14 months. And he called me a plum. But nonetheless, when you're putting in the membership chats, I allow the insults. So thanks, episode 13. It is much appreciated. Sorry I didn't let you win a single game of Rocket League. And from me, thank you, everybody, for coming through, supporting us again, listening to us talk nonsense, joining in with the conversation. It has been fun. We will see you again. There's stuff going on, you know, the usual stuff. Get in the Discord and you'll find out what, because I can't remember right now. See ya.